Chapter 20. Ajur was also shocked. He thought that although Fengwu looked young, she might be 15 or 16 years old. How could she only be 14 years old? She was too young. Did you really give birth to this child? Tianyu asked suspiciously. It was no wonder that Tianyu was suspicious. Even Ajur was very skeptical about whether this child was really Fengwu's child. Fengwu looked like a naive little girl. No one would believe that she was the mother of a child. Yes. Fengwu frowned when she thought of the pain of giving birth. Perhaps it was because Fengwu's expression was too serious. She did not look like she was lying. Tianyu and the others could not help but believe her. Where is the child's father? Isn't he by your side? Tianyu asked curiously. Fengwu looked at Tianyu in confusion. Why would the child's father be by her side? I don't know. Fengwu shook her head. Tianyu looked at the well-behaved Fengwu with pity. This child must have been deceived by some bad man. How could there be such a bad man in this world? He actually hurt such a poor child. Tianyu's sympathy overflowed. In her heart, she had already written several common stories of scumbags cheating Fengwu of money and sex, and the most common story of a pervert abandoning his wife and child. Although Ajur did not make up stories for Fengwu in his heart, he was also dissatisfied with the man who hurt Fengwu. Fengwu, don't worry. If you see that man again in the future, tell me. I will definitely help you teach him a lesson. After teaching him a lesson, they would kill him. How could such a bastard deserve to live in this world? Fengwu. She did not understand what they were talking about. What should she do? After satisfying her curiosity with Fengwu, Tianyu remembered that she had a lot of questions to ask Tank. Being asked by Tianyu, Tank thought of all the things that had happened to him after his father's death. For a moment, he was overcome with grief. While crying, he told Tianyu everything that had happened. When Tianyu found out that his second brother had died, he was so heartbroken that he lost his voice. When he found out that their village had been massacred, Tianyu could no longer cry. He was completely stunned. After coming back to her senses, Tianyu sat on the couch and wept silently. Only the cries of Tianyu and Tank could be heard in the room. After crying for about half an hour, Tianyu came back to her senses. Looking at the tear-stained little Tank in front of her, she said, "Tank, stay with your aunt from now on. Aunt will take good care of you." After saying that, she hugged Tank in her arms and kissed his forehead. Tank buried his little head in his aunt's soft and fragrant arms and cried. That night, Fengwu and Ajur stayed at Tianyu's house for dinner. After the meal, they stayed the night. After knowing that Fengwu and Ajur were going to participate in the entrance examination of Notre Dame du Starlight in 3 days, they were told to stay at home and wait for the examination. Tianyu's husband was a slightly plump man named Lan Wei. He looked to be in his 30s and had an imposing manner. At first glance, one could tell that he was a martial artist. Lan Wei was a good-tempered man. Tianyu was in charge of everything in the family. Basically, Lan Wei had no objection to Tianyu's decision. Lan Wei had a son and a daughter. The son was called Lan Tian and the daughter was called Lan Yu. Together, they were Tianyu. It could be seen that Lan Wei loved his wife very much. During these 3 days in the Lan family, Fengwu and Tank were warmly received. Lan Wei often cooked for them. Lan Wei's cooking skills were very good. No wonder he could become the head chef of a place like Notre Dame du Starlight. 3 days later, Tianyu and Ajur went to the entrance of Notre Dame du Starlight to participate in the first round of the talent examination, accompanied by Tank, Tianyu, and the 2 little ones of Tianyu's family. Ajur, don't you need to line up? Fengwu was in the line for the swordmasters. She saw that Ajur was beside her and didn't line up for the magicians. This made Fengwu puzzled. No need. I am a genius who entered the school without taking the examination. Ajur proudly raised his head. The people in the line behind Fengwu naturally heard Ajur's words. Many people looked at Ajur with envy and jealousy. Only a few people with a strong will looked away after glancing at Ajur. After hearing Ajur's explanation, Fengwu didn't envy Ajur like the others. Very good. After calmly praising him, she focused on lining up. In the past few days, Tian Yu and Feng Wu had learned a lot. Feng Wu already knew what special enrollment students were. The so-called special enrollment students were those who were very outstanding in terms of talent, character, and opportunity. These people were reviewed by the teachers of the academy before they entered the academy. They could directly enter the academy without having to go through the examination. Feng Wu knew that being able to enter Notre Dame du Starlight without taking the examination was a very good thing, so she praised Ajur. After being praised, Ajur was even more proud. He felt that Feng Wu really had a good eye for people who knew that he was very good. The examination for swordsmen was very different from that for magicians. There were 12 levels of talent for magicians. Legend said that if one's talent reached the 12th level, as long as they didn't die, they would definitely become gods. A magician's talent determined their cultivation speed. The higher the talent, the faster they could cultivate magic. In the Academy of Starlight, the minimum requirement for a magician to enter was a 7th level talent. A 7th level talent was the minimum requirement. There was still a chance for anyone below the 7th level. Magicians and swordsmen were the same. In addition to talent, opportunity was also important. Therefore, if one didn't have enough talent, but if one had a heaven-defying opportunity, one might become a saint or even a god in the future. In order to enter Notre Dame du Starlight, one had to pass 2 of the 3 examinations. Temperament was one of the tests. If one's temperament didn't pass, then no matter how high one's talent or heaven-defying opportunity was, one was doomed to not be able to go very far. Therefore, in order to enter Notre Dame du Starlight, one had to have both talent and temperament, or opportunity and temperament. One had to meet 2 of the 3 requirements. As for swordsmen, there wasn't any specific division of talent. There was only a sword testing stone in the examination area. As long as one's strongest attack could make the stone glow, then they passed. If one couldn't, then they could only participate in the other 2 examinations. Because there were too many people taking the examination, Notre Dame du Starlight only recruited students once every 3 years. There were countless people who wanted to enter Notre Dame du Starlight. From 10 to 15 years old, there were already thousands of children from various countries on the continent. There was a clear rule in Notre Dame du Starlight. Everyone only had one chance to enter Notre Dame du Starlight in their lifetime. If they didn't pass once, then they didn't need to come again. Every time a boy or girl came to Notre Dame du Starlight to apply, they all had the beautiful dream of entering Notre Dame du Starlight. Unfortunately, the entrance examination of Notre Dame du Starlight was too difficult. Usually, out of thousands of people, only 300 or so would remain. It was said that during one of the examinations of Notre Dame du Starlight, there were 380 people who remained. That year's examination was the year with the highest number of new students remaining. Chapter 21. After waiting in line for more than 2 hours, it was finally Feng Wu's turn. Many people in front of Feng Wu hadn't passed the test. This sword testing stone was very strange. It would increase the difficulty according to the age of the examinee. There were both male and female examinees in front of Feng Wu. Some of them looked about the same age as Feng Wu, while others were younger than Feng Wu. Feng Wu remembered that among the 5 people in front of her, only 1 girl had passed the test. Those who didn't pass had to take the other 2 tests. When it was Feng Wu's turn, Feng Wu stood in front of the sword testing stone obediently. The weapons used for the test were mortal-grade swords provided by the Sacred Institute. If she used her own sword, it would be very unfair to the examinees who didn't have a good family background. For the sake of fairness, the weapons used for the test were all provided by the Sacred Institute. Feng Wu picked up the sword and used her internal strength. She didn't use any sword skills like the others. She just waved her sword gently. It seemed easy, but in fact, Feng Wu had used about 70% of her internal strength. Her master had said that no matter what she did, she had to hold back. She couldn't let others see her true strength, so Feng Wu didn't use all of her strength. When the examinees standing behind Feng Wu saw Feng Wu waving her sword so casually, they thought this girl was crazy. Everyone only had one chance to take the test of the Notre Dame du Starlight. She waved her sword so casually. She should have used some sword skills. Look at the people in front of her. Which one of them didn't use their strongest sword skills? To everyone's surprise, when Feng Wu casually swung her sword and the sword energy landed on the stone, it immediately emitted a bright white light. Although the light was strong, it wasn't dazzling. It could be seen that Feng Wu's sword skills didn't have any killing intent or aggressiveness. When a sword with killing intent struck the sword testing stone, the light it emitted would be very dazzling. Moreover, the killing intent would be magnified several times by the sword testing stone, allowing people to easily feel it. The domineering sword would make people feel incomparable pressure, as if a mountain was pressing down on their hearts, making it hard for them to breathe. The people who had just passed either had a killing intent or a domineering aura in their swords. Only Feng Wu's sword seemed to be swinging gently, but it did not have any killing intent or domineering aura. Just from this sword, it could be seen that Feng Wu's swordsmanship was definitely higher than the people who had passed before, because they could not restrain their aura at will. Feng Wu's outstanding performance caused the teachers of the swordsmanship department to nod their heads in praise. Only an extremely talented genius could restrain one's aura at this age. Compared to Feng Wu, those who had just passed could only be considered as ordinary geniuses. Compared to the true top geniuses, there was a huge gap. Feng Wu, on the other hand, could already be considered a top swordsmanship genius. Wow! The girl in front is amazing. That's because her aura was restrained. So amazing, she can restrain her aura at such a young age. She's really a genius. If only I was as good as her. Such a strong girl. This girl is really awesome. The young men and women who were queuing at the back all exclaimed in surprise. At this moment, at the place where the mage department was recruiting students, waves of exclamations sounded like a tsunami. A dazzling light shot into the sky, and the intense light made it difficult for the young men who were taking the examination not to notice it. Looks like there's an incredible genius in their mage department. Her talent has reached level 12. There hasn't been such a talented child in a few hundred years. The teacher who was taking the examination at the swordsmanship department touched his chin that was full of stubble. That's right, but our swordsmanship department is not weak either. We also have an incredible little genius. The one who spoke was a female teacher. This female teacher looked to be at most in her 20s. Of course, this might not be her real age. No matter if it was a mage or a swordsman, as their strength increased, the speed of their aging would become slower and slower. Sage-level experts would even look to be in their teens or 20s. If it wasn't because they didn't have much lifespan left, they wouldn't be able to maintain their youthful bodies. You're Feng Wu, right? Congratulations on passing. Next, as long as you pass the temperament assessment, you will be able to join our Notre Dame du Starlight. You have to perform well in the following assessment. The last of the three invigilators was also a young female teacher who looked to be in her 20s. While the other two teachers were busy lamenting, this teacher still remembered her job. She lovingly stroked Feng Wu's little head, said a few words of encouragement, and stamped the passing seal on the back of Feng Wu's hand. Only then did she let Feng Wu go home. This passing seal was made of magical materials and was difficult to fake. The student who had the seal on their hand would automatically leave their name and basic information on the Notre Dame du Starlight's examination list. Feng Wu touched her own little hand. Apart from feeling a little warm when the seal was stamped, she didn't feel anything else. Moreover, the passing seal only appeared on the back of her hand at the very beginning, and disappeared after a few seconds. This made Feng Wu feel very strange. Touching the back of her hand, Feng Wu was pulled away from the crowd by a juror. They walked towards the direction of Tian Yu and Tenk. A juror wasn't surprised that Feng Wu had passed. What kind of person was he? How could a friend who could catch his eye be bad? It was just a mere entrance examination, a piece of cake. At this moment, the teachers from the Ministry of Magic were all indescribably excited. In front of the testing crystal stood a young girl with light purple hair. The girl's gaze was gentle, and she was petite. She looked to be at most 13 or 14 years old. Her eyes, which were the same color as her hair, didn't show any excitement. She looked calm and natural. The teachers who were secretly observing the girl nodded their heads. It seemed that this student's temperament was also very good. Even after knowing that she had such a high innate talent, she didn't become complacent. Instead, she was so calm. She was really a good seedling. How could these teachers know that the girl in front of them already knew about her innate talent? The girl's name was Zicheng. Before she had transmigrated, her name was Zicheng Lan. That's right, Zicheng wasn't someone from this world. She had transmigrated from Earth. When she had just transmigrated, Zicheng was just an unimportant concubine's daughter from an aristocratic family. Her mother was just a maid in the family. Until one day, her father got drunk and had a one-night stand with Zicheng's mother. That was how Zicheng was born. Zicheng's mother was born into a lowly family and wasn't married by her father. Not long after giving birth to Zicheng, she passed away. Zicheng lost her mother's protection. Although she was a concubine's daughter from an aristocratic family, she didn't have any status in the family. When Zicheng was 14 years old, no one had even tested her innate talent. When Zicheng Lan transmigrated from the 21st century, the original Zicheng had already passed away due to a high fever. In the entire family, no one knew that Zicheng had passed away. This also made it convenient for Lan Zicheng to pretend to be Zicheng. As a transmigrator, Lan Zicheng naturally had her own golden fingers, and they were very powerful. Chapter 22. After transmigrating to this world, Lan Zicheng discovered that Zicheng had a talent for magic. Although it was only a 5th grade talent, Lan Zicheng used his golden finger to continuously transform Zicheng's body, allowing Zicheng to have a 12th grade talent for magic. This time, the Notre Dame du Starlight entrance exam was also secretly taken by the current Zicheng. She knew that in that family, no one would think of her. From now on, she would become stronger and stronger, and then take revenge for the original owner. This was the price she had to pay for her rebirth. Not far from Zicheng, a blue-haired girl silently watched the crowd surrounding Zicheng, who was constantly trying to curry favor with her. She was the female lead of this world, Zicheng. She was indeed as beautiful as described in the novel, but she wasn't bad either. Irene was also a transmigrator, but she was different from Zicheng. In Irene's world, Zicheng's world was just a novel. In her previous life, Irene was a third-year university student. Her favorite thing to read were transmigration and rebirth novels. After a car accident, Irene was surprised to find that she had transmigrated. Moreover, she had transmigrated into the female lead, Zicheng's nemesis, Irene. In the original novel, Irene was a rich young lady who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Originally, Irene, who had a 10th grade talent, was favored by everyone during the entrance exam of the Notre Dame du Starlight. However, she didn't expect that halfway through, Zicheng would appear. Because Zicheng stole the limelight, Irene and Zicheng became sworn enemies. Irene framed and humiliated Zicheng in all kinds of ways, but they were all dealt with by the male supporting characters who adored the female lead. In the end, Irene flew into a rage and killed the female lead, Zicheng, during a school trip mission. Of course, the female lead didn't die in the end, but was saved by the male lead who just happened to arrive at the scene. Irene's framing of a classmate was found out by the other members of the same group. In the end, it was reported to the school. The dean personally issued a document, expelling Irene from the Notre Dame du Starlight. From then on, Irene was hated by her family. She was also abused by the male supporting characters who adored Zicheng. In the end, she was killed after the male supporting characters had enough. When Irene first arrived in this strange world and found out that she had reincarnated into such a tragic character, she began to think of ways to change her fate. She knew that the female lead had a powerful golden finger, but her golden finger wasn't small either. As long as she was careful and didn't cross paths with the female lead too early, she should be able to avoid the fate of being cannon fodder. Although now wasn't the time for her to cross paths with the female lead, she was still very interested in the opportunities that the female lead would obtain in the upcoming exams. When the next round of exams came, she would definitely follow the female lead closely and find the opportunity before the female lead. She didn't believe that she, who had read so many cannon fodder novels, wouldn't be able to beat the female lead. Fengwu naturally didn't know that there were two transmigrated girls gathered in the Ministry of Magic. Even if she knew, she wouldn't understand what transmigration was. Therefore, our Fengwu girl was currently at Tian Yu's house playing with her family's little bun. She was eating the barbecue feast that Tian Yu had made to celebrate her passing the first round of exams. Fengwu, there are still 2 more rounds of exams. You have to do your best. Teng sat beside Fengwu, dancing with joy. He secretly decided that in the future, he would also take the Notre Dame du Starlight. He also wanted to become a student of the Notre Dame du Starlight. Yes, Fengwu, eat more. There are still exams tomorrow. You have to do your best. Tian Yu and Lan Wei's family of 3 expressed their support for Fengwu. Fengwu really nodded her little head, expressing that she would do her best. That night, Fengwu was chased into her room early by the Lan family. They used the excuse of having exams tomorrow as an excuse to not let the Fengwu girl play too late. In order to let Fengwu have a good night's sleep, even the little bun was carried to Ajur's room. Tian Yu originally wanted to carry the little bun into her room, but Ajur used the excuse that Tian Yu and her husband had to wake up early to work tomorrow as an excuse to allow the little bun to stay in his room. In order to let Fengwu have a good mental state to participate in the exams tomorrow, everyone was trying their best to lighten the burden on Fengwu. Fengwu felt very warm and comfortable in her heart. That night, Fengwu went to bed early. In her sleep, Fengwu saw a silver path. On the other side of the path, something seemed to be calling her. She frowned, but still followed the guidance in her heart and walked on the path that led to an unknown place. After walking for an unknown period of time, Fengwu saw a half-closed door appear at the end of the path. Fengwu felt that the voice calling her came from inside the door. Fengwu did not hesitate. She slowly pushed open the heavy door. Suddenly, a strong white light shot out from the door. Fengwu realized that her body was falling rapidly. She seemed to be able to hear the screams of others. Fengwu's body always reacted faster than her brain. When she fell, she had already used her qigong to maintain her balance. Below Fengwu was a large ocean, a beach, and a forest. Fengwu fell on the beach. Beside Fengwu, there were many people falling from the sky. From time to time, the sound of heavy objects hitting the ground could be heard. At the moment when she was about to hit the ground, Fengwu did a backflip in the sky to maintain her body's center of gravity and then landed safely. The others were not so lucky. Some people's heads were buried in the sand. When the people next to them saw this, they went forward to help and pulled them out. Some of the people who fell into the sea were not injured. Those who could swim were fine and could swim to the shore by themselves. Those who could not swim were struggling in the water and screaming for help. Fortunately, the people nearby were friendly. Many of them who could swim went into the water to save people. It was not until half an hour later that those who had fallen into the water were rescued. Fengwu did not go into the water to save people. She stood quietly at the side and observed the surrounding environment. This was an unfamiliar place. The youngest people around her were only 10 years old. The oldest was about the same age as Fengwu. This reminded Fengwu of the assessment during the day. What the hell is going on? I remember that I was sleeping in a hotel. Someone could not help but ask. Me too. This time, I came to participate in the Notre Dame du Starlight assessment. I stayed at my uncle's house. I went to bed very early at night. I don't know why, but when I woke up, I found that I was falling. I was scared to death. Someone patted her chest with a frightened expression. What the hell is going on? Does anyone know? Some girls asked in a low voice. Could it be that this is also part of the assessment? Someone whispered his guess. Zicheng helped a girl to sit to the side. When she fell into the water, there was a girl next to her who could not swim. She conveniently saved her. Only now did she have time to observe the surrounding environment. Erin sat not far away from Zicheng. Beside her were a few other girls who were drenched. Since most of them fell into the sea and only a few of them landed on the beach, apart from the lucky ones who didn't fall into the water, most of them were drenched in sweat. Chapter 23. Fortunately, most swordmasters knew how to swim. Magicians had weaker physiques, and swordmasters were more straightforward. Although they didn't know each other, they still went forward to save many magicians. Otherwise, these young magicians would be miserable. While everyone was discussing, 3 illusory figures appeared in the sky. Although they were just illusory figures, the powerful aura they exuded made it clear that these 3 people were definitely top experts. Looks like everyone is safe. You must be very curious now. I won't beat around the bush. I'm the supervising teacher for the 2nd and 3rd tests, and the 2 beside me are the same. When you pass the test and officially become a member of the Sacred Court, you will naturally know our names. I believe some of you have already guessed it. Yes, this is the venue for the last 2 tests. You are now not on the Heavenly Wind continent. Instead, you have been sent to a strange space. In this space, we have hidden magic books, sword skills, magic staffs, and magic swords everywhere. On this continent, there are many opportunities waiting for you to discover, but there are also unimaginable dangers. The natives of the continent will destroy all invaders. If you are found and killed by the natives, you will fail the test. But you don't have to worry. This time, you only enter this world as spiritual bodies, not physical bodies. So even if you are killed, you will only wake up from a dream. There will be no harm to your body. If you don't encounter any opportunities or find anything at the end of the test, you will also fail. If you find something that you don't need in the end, such as a magician finding a swordmaster's sword, or a swordmaster finding a magician's magic staff, then I can't let you pass. All the magic items we put in this space are divided into different attributes. Only those who find items that suit their attributes and survive to the end can pass the test. Now, I'll give you 10 minutes to ask the 3 of us questions. Without affecting the rules, we will answer the questions that we can answer. If you can't answer, you will have to explore by yourself. Start asking questions. The shadow standing in the middle was a woman around 27 or 28 years old. She was wearing a magic robe. Beside her stood 2 men holding swords. They were about the same age as the woman, but the aura emitted by the 3 of them proved their powerful strength. Facing the 3 powerful teachers sent by the Sacred Court, the young men and women participating in the test didn't dare to open their mouths to ask questions. Teacher, if the thing I need is found by someone else, can I snatch it from them? A young man with black hair and eyes asked first. When the young man spoke, everyone's attention was attracted to him. The young man wasn't tall, and he wore a black magic robe. He was obviously a magician. At this moment, the young man's expression was calm. He didn't show any signs of panic or evade the gazes of so many people looking at him. The young man's eyes were very calm, and the 3 teachers had a good impression of him. Of course, but students are forbidden from killing each other. Because the person who asked the question was a mage, the female teacher answered again. Any other questions? The Sacred Court to the Sacred Court to the Sacred to the Sacred to the test. The Sacred Court the Sacred you won't be attacked there, and each of you will have a blue space pouch with 10 silver coins in it. If you want to get more coins, you can use your own methods to earn money in the city and use the money to buy the things you want. In the central city, there are clues about the treasure map. If you want to quickly find the magic items we have hidden, you can try your luck in the city ahead. Alright, I won't say any more. The last 2 rounds of the test are about to begin. The test will last for a month. After a month, we will come to pick you up. Please work hard. After speaking, the 3 shadows disappeared at the same time. They didn't even give the Sacred Court time to ask a few more questions. What do we do now? Someone looked around uneasily. How about we go to the neutral city first? Didn't the teacher say there was a treasure group in the neutral city? Someone else said. Thus, everyone decided to go to the neutral city to find the treasure map. But where was the neutral city? The teacher had only said that the blue city walls surrounded the neutral city, but he hadn't said where it was. At this time, some people were moving alone, while others were moving in groups. Fengwu stood alone at the side. Sometimes she would look at the sea, sometimes she would look at the trees. She was listening to the sounds of the trees and the waves. Look, more people are coming. It's the same as last time. These people fall from the sky every time. It's so strange. Yes, humans are so strange. I wonder where they come from. Look, that girl in the blue dress. Her aura makes me feel so comfortable. She's coming towards me. A few trees were chattering non-stop. When Fengwu heard their voices, she walked towards them. Who are you? We like the aura on your body. Hello, you can call me Sky Blue or Xiao Wu. Fengwu walked in front of the trees and greeted them in a friendly manner. Can you hear us? The trees shook their leaves with interest. I can hear you. Can I ask you a question? Do you know how to get to the neutral city? It's a city surrounded by blue walls. We don't know. We've been here since we were born. Other than people falling from the sky every once in a while, we've never left this place. Then do you know who knows the way to the neutral city? Fengwu continued to ask. The trees lowered their branches. They didn't look very energetic. We don't know either. It's okay. I'll go ahead and ask. Fengwu carelessly touched the tree closest to her. The little tree shook its branches excitedly and shouted happily. She touched me. Touch me too. I want to touch her too. Me too. Touch me too. Touch me too. Touch me. I'm very nice to touch. The remaining trees that hadn't been touched were excited. They wanted to be touched too. Fengwu touched the trees beside her. They were finally satisfied. Fengwu pursed her lips and smiled. There was a small team beside her. They had just formed a team and agreed to go find the neutral city together. Zicheng and Irene were in the same team. The team leader wasn't either of them. The person who asked them to form a team was a man who practiced swordsmanship. He looked to be around 14 or 15 years old. He had a good figure and a bright smile on his face. He looked like a guy that girls liked. Chapter 24. There were 5 girls and 5 boys in this team, making it a total of 10 people. Originally, they had already formed a team, but at this moment, the captain saw Fengwu, who was alone. Such a beautiful girl couldn't be left alone. So, the party leader, who thought of himself as a gentleman, immediately trotted behind Fengwu and asked the girl to form a party. Hello, are you alone? Do you want to join my party? We have 10 people in our party now. Including you, that's 11. Do you want to join? Peida smiled brightly and in a friendly manner. Party? Fengwu turned her head in confusion when she heard the voice. Yeah, aren't we going to the neutral city? It's better for everyone to go together than to go alone. Although we're rivals, we'll talk about it after we reach the neutral city, right? Once we find the neutral city, we'll find the treasure map with our own abilities. Fengwu looked at the boy in front of her quietly. After listening to him, Fengwu nodded. This person didn't have any malicious intentions. Let's go. I'll take you to the others in our party. Peida walked in front and led the way for Fengwu. In fact, the others weren't too far away from Fengwu. It took less than 2 minutes to walk there. At this time, Zicheng was talking to a few other girls. Among the girls, one of them was the girl he saved. This girl was called Sally. She was a cheerful girl. Zicheng liked her personality. Irene was also chatting with 2 other girls. From time to time, she would calmly exchange glances with Zicheng. Zicheng didn't notice Irene's strange behavior at all. He didn't know that the girl in front of him was a female supporting character who wanted to turn the tables on him. Let me introduce everyone. This girl just joined us. Her name is... Peida just realized that he didn't know her name, so he turned to Fengwu awkwardly. I'm Fengwu. Fengwu didn't understand what the other party meant, but she knew that she had to say her name at this time. Hello, welcome to the party. Are you a swordsman? Me too. My name is Silda. A girl smiled at Fengwu in a friendly manner. I'm Zicheng, a magician. I'm Irene, also a magician. My name is Gannard, magician. My name is Kyle. I'm a swordsman. My name is Eve. I'm a magician. My name is Melissa. Welcome to the team. I am a swordmaster just like you. My name is Hans, swordmaster. My name is Alman, a magician. Nice to meet you. I'm the temporary leader of the team. My name is Pelder, and I'm a swordsman. In the end, Pelder introduced himself as the leader. After exchanging their names, professions, and names, there were exactly 6 swordmasters and 5 mages in a small team. After exchanging their names and professions, they began to discuss which path they should take. Some of the teams that had already formed had already chosen to leave. Many of them decided to enter the forest first, while others decided to go around the beach to observe the situation before making a decision. Fengwu and the rest of the team had already finished their discussion when the other teams and solo players set off first. In fact, Fengwu didn't say anything from the beginning to the end. She only listened to the others. It was Irene's idea to enter the forest directly. Irene had read the novel before, so she naturally knew the location of the neutral city. Although she had never been there, she knew the general location. In fact, in order to reach the neutral city, they had to go through the forest first. There were many small villages outside the forest, and the people living in those villages were the local natives. These natives were very dangerous. If they went around these villages, they would reach the neutral city that was further ahead. Since everyone agrees with Irene, let's go through this forest first. As the team leader, Peda finally announced the result of the discussion. There were several teams that thought the same as Peda and the others. There were many smart people in this world. Many people guessed that the so-called neutral city was most likely not in this forest. If they wanted to find the neutral city, they had to leave this forest first. However, this forest was very dangerous. There were many magical beasts residing here. If they wanted to go through it, there would be a few fierce battles. The forest was indeed very dangerous. Fengwu's group of 11 slowly walked in the forest. They didn't dare to walk too fast. After all, the forest was a very dangerous place. This forest wasn't too big. As long as they found the right path, it wouldn't be difficult to get out. However, it was really difficult to figure out which path was the right one. This time, even Irene couldn't do anything. Irene only knew that Zicheng's team finally walked out of the forest. As for how they got out, she really didn't know. The book didn't write about it in such detail. What should we do? Which way should we go now? Eve stood behind Zicheng, holding Zicheng's arm and looking at the surrounding forest in confusion. Eve was the girl who was saved by Zicheng. Ever since she was rescued on shore, she had been by Zicheng's side. Irene looked coldly at Eve's dependence on Zicheng. Eve was an important cannon fodder in the early days. Eve's brother was also a student of Notre Dame du Starlight. Later, Eve introduced him to the female lead and fell in love with her at first sight. Later, in order to protect the female lead, he died in Irene's hands. Eve didn't alienate Zicheng because her brother died because of Zicheng. Instead, she became closer to her. Later, when Zicheng was in danger, Eve helped Zicheng block a fatal blow and died just like that. Before she died, this girl named Eve was still thanking Zicheng for letting her know what true friendship was. She hoped that she could still be good friends with Zicheng in her next life. When she saw this, Irene was simply speechless. The brother and sister died for this so-called friend, and she was still thanking the female lead for letting her know what true friendship was. Shouldn't normal humans pray that they won't meet again in their next life? For people like Eve, Irene didn't even bother to rope her in. She didn't understand the world of deep ice. Peda was also hesitating about which way to go. These roads looked similar, and he had no idea which one was the way out of the forest. Fengwu stood behind everyone, listening carefully to the sounds around her. Do you know the way out? Fengwu realized that she could use her mental power to communicate with these natural creatures. Soon, the trees, flowers, and grass around Fengwu happily pointed the way for Fengwu. In the end, a dandelion told Fengwu which way was the right way. Because it was blown into the forest from there, it remembered it very clearly. After thanking the dandelion that pointed the way for her, Fengwu walked to Pei De, who was having a headache. "This way, we can get out." When the others saw Fengwu suddenly walk to Pei De, they thought she was going to do something. They didn't expect her to say that. "Can we really get out of this way? How do you know?" Sealda asked curiously. For Fengwu, the swordmaster girl who joined later, everyone felt that she was a very quiet and introverted girl. If you didn't talk to her, she wouldn't say a word to you. If you talked to her, she would only answer if you asked her a question. If you didn't ask her a question, she wouldn't answer. How could they chat like this? So after chatting with Fengwu for a while and finding that it was boring to be with her, these girls stopped talking to her. Chapter 25. Silda's question was the same as everyone else's. Fengwu spoke in a serious tone. It did not seem like she was just guessing. Fengwu did not say anything. Her master had told her not to tell anyone that she could understand animals and plants. Those people would be afraid of her, so Fengwu only bit her lip and did not say anything. Fengwu's sullen expression made Silda feel a little awkward. He did not do anything to her, did he? Why did he feel like he was a bad guy who bullied a little girl? Since Fengwu said that this is the way out, let's try it. We don't have any leads anyway. Pelder quickly made a decision. The others did not have any objections. They did not know which way to go anyway. They would just take a random path and try their luck. The 11 of them followed Fengwu's directions, but after 2 days of walking, they still did not leave the forest. Eve was the first to cry out, "Is this the right way? Why can't we get out after walking for so long? I think we're going the wrong way. This forest is so big. It might take some time to get out." "Don't worry, Eve." Although Zicheng did not know the right direction, he could feel that they were walking on the right path. "Yeah, I don't think we should give up so early. The forest is so big. We can't walk out in a day or two. Eve, you're too impatient." Irene looked at the forest. She felt that if they continued walking, they would be able to get out. She could not let Eve ruin it. But what if this path is wrong? Wouldn't that be a waste of time? Marissa wasn't too sure. "Let's walk for another day. If we really can't get out, we'll think of another way," Hanses said after a moment of silence. "I think so too." Alman agreed with Hans. "Kyle Gannard, what do you think?" Pelder asked the other 2 male members. "Let's walk for another day. I feel like we're almost out of the forest." Kyle and Gannard exchanged glances, agreeing to walk for another day. "What about you, Silda?" Melissa asked Silda, the only female member who didn't say anything. "Since everyone thinks that this is the right path, let's continue walking. I think what Zicheng and Irene said is very reasonable. This forest is so big that it would take us at least a few days to get out. We've only been walking for 2 days. It's still too early to say that we've taken the wrong path," Silda said in a more pertinent manner. "Why are you all siding with that Fengwu? You believe her just because she says it's the right path? I even said it's the wrong path. Look at her, she keeps a straight face all day long and doesn't say anything. She answers every question we ask her. I don't know if there's something wrong with her brain. How can you believe the words of such a person?" Eve's father was the president of a chamber of commerce. She was pampered since she was young. Ever since she tried to talk to Fengwu but didn't get much response, she had been dissatisfied with Fengwu. After walking for 2 days without getting out of the forest, the dissatisfaction in her heart completely exploded. Fengwu pursed her lips and lowered her head. She didn't refute Eve's words. Fengwu wasn't angry. When she went down the mountain with her master, the children at the foot of the mountain would also say some unpleasant things. Her master told her that it didn't matter what others said. Those who didn't like her, she should just ignore them. If they crossed the line, she could also teach them a lesson. She shouldn't feel bad because of some unimportant people. Fengwu had always been an obedient child. She listened to her master's words. Therefore, she didn't care about those children who said bad things about her. If a child threw small stones at her, She would use her internal energy to make the stones bounce back and let those bad children suffer the consequences of their own actions. After those children were hit by the stones they threw a few times, they didn't dare to find trouble with Fengwu anymore. Of course, there were still some who said bad things about her. Fengwu didn't care about Eve's words, but others didn't think so. When they saw Fengwu lowering her head and not saying anything, they looked even more pitiful. Eve, you've gone too far. Fengwu didn't do anything to you. Why are you talking about her like that? Silda was a girl with a relatively straightforward personality. She couldn't stand this kind of bullying the most. She was the first to stand up and reprimand Eve. What did I say? Can't I speak the truth? It's not like I'm the only one who thinks so. Clearly, many of you think so too. Why don't you admit it? Eve looked at Silda with disdain. Because of her good family background, Eve had seen many two-faced people around her. Therefore, she especially hated people who didn't mean what they said. She felt that Fengwu's personality wasn't likable. She was afraid that everyone didn't like her in their hearts. They clearly didn't like her, but they didn't say it out loud. How hypocritical. Many people think so. Tell me, who do you think? Call them out for me to see. Silda laughed in anger. This Eve was simply ridiculous. Marisa, tell me, do you also dislike Fengwu? Little Cheng, you also think that Fengwu is very annoying, right? In Eve's eyes, Marisa, who spoke up for her, and Zicheng, who saved her, were naturally on her side. When she was arguing with Silda, she didn't hesitate to drag them down with her. Marisa didn't think that the fire would burn her. She uneasily tugged at the corner of her clothes. Marisa's family background was very ordinary. Her father was just an ordinary hunter. If it weren't for her talent, which allowed her to become a student of a magic and force academy and free tuition, she might have been like an ordinary village girl who got married and had children once she reached a certain age. Marisa cherished this opportunity to apply for the Notre Dame du Starlight. She didn't want to make enemies with anyone. However, the current situation was beyond her control. Marisa was a little angry at Eve for dragging her down with her. Eve, I don't dislike anyone. What I said just now was only my guess. It doesn't mean that I dislike Fengwu. Marisa was speaking the truth. She really didn't dislike Fengwu. Besides, there was another reason why Marisa said that. She was a swordswoman. Even if she entered the Notre Dame du Starlight in the future, she would still be a member of the swordsmanship department. She wouldn't have much interaction with Eve from the magic department. Fengwu was also a swordswoman like her. If she sided with Eve at this time, others would think that she was siding with someone from the magic department. She didn't want that to happen before she even entered the academy. Marisa's denial angered Eve. How can you say that? You clearly don't like her either. Why don't you say it out loud? What are you afraid of? Marisa was so useless that she didn't even dare to say what she was thinking. That's enough, Eve. We're all on the same team. Can you stop arguing? Zicheng frowned. She felt helpless. She didn't think that Eve, who always acted like a cute little girl in front of her, would be so unreasonable. Irene sneered inwardly. She didn't even think of trying to persuade Marisa. That author had really beautified Eve's character. Chapter 26. In the novel, Eve was discovered by someone she regarded as her best friend behind her back when she was young. Ever since then, Eve hated people who pretended in front of her. In the novel, Eve was someone who hated pretending. When the author described Eve's character, she always said that she dared to love and hate, and that she was pure and without pretense. In fact, after interacting with Eve, Irene felt that she was a very contradictory person. She didn't like people trying to curry favor with her, but she also didn't like people acting like they didn't care about her. In short, Eve gave Irene the feeling that she was a lunatic. She wanted to feel the truth, but she was only willing to accept the truth that she believed to be the truth. Irene really didn't know how such a person managed to catch the eyes of the female lead. Little Cheng. Even you won't help me, right? I thought Little Cheng and I were good friends. Eve looked at Zicheng with red eyes, her eyes filled with the pain of being betrayed by her best friend. Eve really treated Zicheng as a good friend. When Zicheng saved her, the two of them didn't know each other. Eve valued this kind of life-saving grace more than anything else. She felt that Zicheng was a kind girl, which was why she helped her when they didn't know each other at the time. She didn't expect that Zicheng, who she thought of as a good friend, wouldn't stand on her side. This was something that Eve couldn't accept. Zicheng felt a headache coming on. She had always thought that Eve was a cute little sister, and she had taken care of her along the way. Only now did she realize that she didn't know enough about this girl. Eve, what do you want me to help you with? Help you fight with everyone? The most important thing right now is to think of a way to complete the exam, not fight among ourselves. Zicheng was trying her best to persuade her. After all, Eve was the first person who expressed kindness to her. In Zicheng's heart, she still cared a lot about Eve as a friend. In any case, you just won't help me. After Eve finished speaking, she turned around and ran away, tears streaming down her face. Eve felt very wronged. She clearly wanted to persuade everyone to change their route for the sake of everyone. Why did everyone choose to believe that Fengwu? What was so good about that Fengwu? Eve! Zicheng shouted behind Eve. Eve ignored him and continued running forward. Is she crazy? Why is she running around in a place like this? Does she want to die? Silda felt that he was really drunk. This Eve was really a young lady who couldn't bear to be wronged. It was clearly a small matter, but she could make it seem like the whole world had betrayed her. What do we do now? Are you going to chase after her? Hanses asked hesitantly. Although they were in the same party, this was only a temporary party. Their main goal was to leave the forest and go to the neutral city. Who would have so much time to look for an insensible young lady? Zicheng, do you want to go look for her? Eve will be fine like this, right? Irene walked to Zicheng's side and asked, pretending to be concerned. Zicheng was also very hesitant. Should he go look for Eve? She had to pass this exam. He couldn't let anything affect her results. However, Eve was her first friend in this world. Eve's safety was also very important. Zicheng didn't know what to do for a moment. Irene sneered. She wanted to see if this exam was more important in the female lead's heart, or if that Eve was more important. But where did this Fengwu come from? She clearly remembered that there was no such person as Fengwu in the novel. No, Fengwu's name sounded very familiar, but she definitely wasn't a main character. Could she be a random passerby? While Irene was pondering over Fengwu's identity, Fengwu kept looking in the direction Eve ran. Don't worry, she'll come back in a moment. Silda thought that Fengwu was worried about Eve and inwardly praised her for being such a kind-hearted girl. Something is coming this way, Fengwu said to Silda in a serious tone as she sensed the information coming from the wind. What is it? Kyle was closer to Fengwu. When Fengwu answered Silda, he also heard Fengwu's words. His expression became a little strange. Before Fengwu could answer, an earth-shattering roar of a beast resounded through the world. Help! Xiao Cheng, save me! Eve, who had disappeared, indeed came back on her own as Silda said. But this time, she didn't come back alone. She was followed by an unknown monster. This monster was fiery red and its whole body seemed to be surrounded by flames. It was about 3 meters tall and 5 meters long. It looked a bit like a fire crocodile, but a fire crocodile wasn't this tall. At this time, this monster that looked like a fire crocodile was angrily chasing after Eve. No one knew what Eve did to make this monster so angry. Damn it! This is a level 8 mutated fire crocodile. Pelder recognized the monster. This was indeed a fire crocodile, but it had mutated. Originally, a fire crocodile was just an ordinary low-rank monster, but a mutated monster was different. This kind of mutated monster could break the shackles of its own bloodline. Originally, a low-rank monster like a fire crocodile could only grow into a level 5 monster in its lifetime. But because of its mutation, this monster had grown into a level 8 monster. Zicheng was the highest-ranked magician in their group, but he was only a level 5 magician. Irene was a level 4 magician, and the swordmasters were about level 4 or level 5. To be honest, if they wanted to fight an level 8 fire crocodile, it was tantamount to courting death. Roar! The loud roar of the beast sounded again. Eve had already run not far away from them. The fire crocodile directly used flame burst and spat out a large amount of flames from its mouth. The terrifyingly high temperature set the forest on fire. After Pelder shouted and spread out, almost everyone scattered at the same time and was not burned by the flames. Everyone, quickly kill this monster. Eve was lucky enough to avoid the fire crocodile's attack. She quickly ran to Zicheng's side and shouted at Pelder and the others in horror. Roar! Give me back my child, despicable human, give me back my child. Roar! Give me back my child, despicable thief. The fire crocodile spat out flames crazily as if it had gone mad. The forest around Pelder and the others fell into a sea of fire. Some of the weaker animals quickly ran out of this area, afraid that they would be accidentally killed by the king of this area. Look, what's going on in front? Some of the nearby teams noticed the soaring flames on Pelder's side and screamed uneasily from time to time. Leave quickly, a monster has gone berserk. Some people guessed what was going on and immediately took their teams around to avoid the fire crocodile. On this side, Pelder and the others were dodging the fire crocodile's attacks. Although they had tried their best to dodge, the fire crocodile's attack power was too strong. In just a few minutes, several people were burned by the intense gunpowder. Chapter 27. Among the injured was Eve, who had attracted the fire beast's attention. What the hell did you do? Why is this fire alligator so angry? Silda shouted at Eve while dodging the fire attack. I didn't do anything, I didn't do anything. Eve cried. God knew that she had never been in such a sorry state since she was young. Her arm was burned, and a part of her beautifully combed hair was also burnt. She looked very miserable. Everyone was very angry at Eve for causing this disaster, but now that they were facing such a powerful magic beast, no one had the extra energy to settle the score with Eve. They could only pray that they could successfully escape from the fire alligator. If they died here, then they would no longer have the chance to join the Notre Dame du Starlight. Fengwu, what are you doing? Quickly dodge, you will die. Silda screamed. Only then did everyone notice that Fengwu did not dodge, but directly rushed towards the crazy fire alligator. Could it be that she wanted to fight the fire alligator alone? Don't joke, that was an 8th rank magic beast. Not only did she not want to run away, but she also wanted to rush towards her own death. Just when everyone thought that the fire alligator would directly spit fire at Fengwu to death, something unexpected happened. The fire alligator actually stopped attacking and roared at Fengwu. This time, its voice was very aggrieved, as if it was crying to Fengwu about something. Don't be angry, I will help you. Fengwu touched the fire alligator's long mouth, and her body emitted an aura invisible to the naked eye. This aura calmed the raging fire alligator. Although it still wanted to find the child, it did not attack crazily. You all can come out, everything is fine now. Fengwu calmed the fire alligator, and shouted at the people who were hiding. When the others saw that everything was fine, they slowly walked out, and the fire alligator did not attack again. Not bad, Fengwu. Are you a beast tamer? You are actually so powerful. But that's not right. Aren't you a sword master? How can you be a beast tamer? Silda patted Fengwu's shoulder excitedly and asked in puzzlement. Fengwu did not answer his question. Instead, she walked towards Eve, who was protected by Zicheng. Give it to me. His voice was faint, but there was a firmness that could not be refused. Give me what? I don't know what you're talking about. Eve shrieked like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. She clutched Zicheng's robe tightly with both hands, looking for comfort. Fengwu, what do you want Eve to take out? Irene looked at Eve strangely and asked. It seemed like her guess was right. This Eve must have done something to make this fire alligator go berserk. Thinking that she was almost implicated by this woman, Irene was very angry. She was indeed a stupid woman. No wonder she died because of her own stupidity. Egg. The fire alligator's egg. The fire alligator's mother said that you stole it when it was out. Fengwu pointed at the fire alligator and then looked at Eve unhappily. This person lied and stole the fire alligator's mother's baby. She was a bad person. What? So you took its egg? No wonder this fire alligator went berserk. Silda was so angry that he wanted to give Eve 2 slaps. This woman was brainless. She dared to take anything. Take it out and give it back. If you want to die, don't drag the rest of us down. Kyle, who had a bad temper, naturally spoke in a bad tone when he knew that this disaster was all because of this woman's greed. Eve, take the egg out and give it back to this fire alligator. Pelda was also very angry. If it wasn't for Fengwu, all of them might have been teleported out of the examination room on the second day. Thinking that if they failed the examination, they would never be able to enter the Notre Dame du Starlight. No matter how good Pelda's temper was, he couldn't be happy. I already said that I didn't take it. This fire alligator went crazy and chased after me. You all came to target me just because you heard Fengwu's words. What did I do wrong to make you all treat me like a criminal? Eve cried out her grievances. Her dirty body and the injury on her arm made her look very pitiful. Could there be some misunderstanding? Zicheng said hesitantly when he saw Eve crying like this. It didn't seem like she was lying. Yeah, Eve doesn't look like she's lying. We can't completely trust the words of a major monster, can we? Almond said when she saw Eve crying like this. The people who were originally very angry at Eve also hesitated a little. Yes, the opponent was a major monster. They didn't want to believe that their own people would trust a major monster. I don't care if you believe it or not. I believe in Fengwu. Fengwu wouldn't lie, Silder said. He didn't like Eve, but he didn't hate Fengwu. Besides, he trusted his intuition. Fengwu wasn't a girl who would lie. Roar! 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 The fire alligator, who had been listening quietly, seemed to have understood their words. It became very angry and roared a few words with a murderous look in its eyes. Fengwu, hurry up and listen to what it's saying. Melissa was scared and took a few steps back to get as far away from Eve as possible. It's saying that you only have 2 choices. Either you hand over the egg, or you hand over the person. If you don't choose either, then all of you will die with her. Fengwu pointed at Eve and calmly translated for the fire alligator. The people who were originally speaking for Eve all shut up. Even Zicheng didn't continue to speak to protect Eve. Return the baby to its mother. If you don't return it, it will really die. Fengwu kindly persuaded. I don't believe that with so many of us here, we will be afraid of a minor monster. Everyone together we can definitely defeat it. Eve pretended to be calm and tried to persuade everyone to fight the fire alligator with her. However, no one was an idiot. They came here for their own future, not for a person they had only known for a few days. Moreover, she could even be considered an opponent. If you want to fight, then go by yourself. I won't participate. This fire alligator's target is clearly you. Why do you want all of us to fight to the death for you? Who do you think you are? Although Silda's words weren't pleasant to hear, it was what everyone was thinking. You. Eve pointed at Silda in disbelief, then looked at the people who clearly didn't want to fight. Even the people who spoke for her didn't respond to Eve's gaze. Instead, they looked away, avoiding eye contact with Eve. Little Cheng, you will definitely help me, right? You will help me, right? Eve grabbed Zicheng's hand as if she was grabbing onto her last life-saving straw. Chapter 28. Zicheng pulled out his hand and looked at Eve with a serious face. Eve, look into my eyes and tell me that you really didn't take the fire alligator's egg. I didn't take it. I really didn't take it. Eve said anxiously. Zicheng shook his head disappointedly. Eve, you took it. Are you still not going to admit it? Eve stammered, unable to say anything. Eve, take out the egg. Otherwise, none of us can save you. Irene looked at Eve expressionlessly. Her time was precious and she didn't want to waste it on this kind of thing. Roar. An earth-shattering roar sounded again. It was obvious that the fire alligator's patience was limited. I'll take it, I'll take it. Eve was scared out of her wits by the fire alligator's roar. In addition, it was obvious that no one in the team would help her. Eve may be capricious, but she wasn't stupid. If she didn't take it out at this time, she believed that these people would abandon her without hesitation. She slowly took out a big fiery red egg from her space belt. She accidentally found this egg when she was running away in anger. When she found this magical beast egg, she thought that it was her chance. Who knew that when she put the egg into her space belt, the fire alligator would appear and chase her all the way back. She thought that with so many people here, they would definitely be able to take down the fire alligator. She didn't expect that these people were all so useless. So many of them couldn't even make a move and could only hide. Now, she even had to take out the mutated fire alligator's egg that she had painstakingly obtained. If she had known, she wouldn't have teamed up with this group of people. They were really useless. After scolding everyone in her heart, Eve felt much better. After the fire alligator got its egg, under Fengwu's persuasion, it didn't bother Eve anymore. After bidding goodbye to Fengwu affectionately, it took the egg and left. After the fire alligator left, Gardner, who was a water mage, used water magic to extinguish the fire. In the end, it did not cause a forest fire. When they were finally safe, everyone found a place to sit down and tend to their wounds. Other than Fengwu, Zicheng, and Irene, the rest of them were more or less injured. The one with the heaviest injuries was Baird. As the team leader, he was very loyal. When a flame was about to hit Marissa, he pushed her away, but he himself was hit by the flame and was heavily injured. Luckily, Irene was a wood magician. The wood element had a strong vitality and could be used for healing. However, Irene alone was not enough. Although the wounds had been treated, it would still take some time for her to fully recover. Leader, I suggest that we expel Eve from our team. If we continue to be in the same team as a troublemaker, selfish, and self-reliant person like her, I'm worried that we won't be able to pass the assessment because of her. After Irene treated his wounds, Silda could no longer hold back his words. This time, because of Eve, he suffered an unexpected disaster. Silda's heart had long been filled with resentment. Silda, why are you always picking on me? What did I do wrong? We came here to look for opportunities, didn't we? That's a mutated fire alligator egg. If you saw it, you wouldn't take it. Eve sneered. Originally, Eve did not dare to speak because of the fire alligator's attack. However, this time, Silda actually wanted to drive her away. How could Eve tolerate this? If she really let them drive her away this time, how could she face others in the future? When she thought of the possible ridicule, Eve's heart felt like it was being scratched by a cat. What did you do wrong? You actually have the nerve to ask such a question. So many of us were injured because of you. You still don't know what you did wrong? How shameless can you be to make yourself sound so innocent? Seeing Eve's innocent face as if she was the victim, Silda really wanted to slap her face. It's not like I'm the one who injured you. Why are you blaming it all on me? Eve also felt that she had been wronged. A mutated fire alligator egg was gone just like that. She was more heartbroken than anyone else and even had to be scolded by this shrewish woman. The more Eve thought about it, the more pitiful she felt. I'm too lazy to talk to a woman like you. Leader, let's vote. Those who agree that she should stay, raise your hands. If more than half of the people raise their hands and agree that you should stay, then I have nothing to say. If the majority of the people agree that you should leave, then you can scram. Silda could also see that it was impossible to talk to this strange woman. It was better to just vote directly. Wait a minute, Silda. Do we really have to go to this extent? Can you give Eve another chance? I'll look after her. Zicheng looked at Silda with a troubled expression. She had a good relationship with Eve. Although the two of them had not known each other for long, Eve was her first friend after coming to this world. Zicheng did not want to see Eve being driven away by Silda. Little Cheng. Looking at the only person who spoke up for her, Zicheng, Eve felt very touched. Sure enough, among these people, little Cheng was the only good person. Alright, Zicheng, you don't have to say any more. This time, Eve caused us to suffer such heavy losses because of her. She must be responsible for her own mistakes. I agree with Silda. What about you, leader? Irene also did not want to tolerate Eve anymore. She did not know if it was because of her butterfly wings flapping too hard. She did not remember that the assessment this time was so dangerous. No matter what the reason was, the difficulty of the assessment had increased. She did not want to be in the same team as Eve, a ticking time bomb. Silda pondered for a moment. To be honest, he was taught the chivalrous spirit of chivalry since he was young. Expelling a girl was undoubtedly contrary to what he had learned since he was young. However, it was indeed inappropriate for a girl like Eve to stay in their team. Everyone already had a lot of opinions about Eve. If she was allowed to stay, what if something happened to Chingy again? After thinking about it again and again, Silda finally nodded. Alright, let's vote by a show of hands. Those who agree that Eve should stay, raise your hand. After Silda finished speaking, only Zicheng raised his hand. The others either pretended to treat their wounds or pretended not to hear. Everyone expressed the same meaning. They did not want Eve to stay in the team anymore. When Eve saw everyone's reaction, her eyes immediately turned red. Her eyes flashed with hatred. Eve swore that she would take revenge on these ruthless people if she had the chance. The result is obvious. If you don't leave, no one here will welcome you, Silda said with a gloating smile. You'd better remember this. Eve shouted angrily. Eve, stop fooling around. I'll go with you. Zicheng was originally invited to join the team together with Eve. Now that Eve had left, Zicheng did not want to stay alone. After all, in everyone's eyes, he and Eve were together. Chapter 29. Zicheng, there's no need for you to go with her. Hans, who had pretended not to hear Zicheng's words, immediately stood up nervously. That's right. You are you, and she is she. We won't hold a grudge against you just because of her. Garnard also tried to persuade him anxiously. It was obvious that the two of them had a good impression of Zicheng. Zicheng gave off the impression of a gentle and considerate girl. Her gaze was gentle at all times, and she gave off the feeling of gentle moonlight. It was very easy for people to have a good impression of her. I'm sorry, but I'm worried about letting Eve go alone. I'll go with her. We can take care of each other. Zicheng gently but firmly rejected the two's persuasion. Little Cheng. Eve was so touched that tears welled up in her eyes. After being ignored and treated with hostility by so many of her teammates, Zicheng was still willing to go through thick and thin with her. This made Eve feel both touched and guilty. Ugh. Eve was just secretly cursing Zicheng in her heart for being disloyal. It turned out that Zicheng treated her so well. She was extremely touched. Zicheng, are you really going to go with her? This girl is a troublemaker. If you go with her, you'll be implicated, okay? Although Silda's words were unpleasant to the ears, it wasn't hard to tell from her tone that she really cared about Zicheng. After all, Zicheng was different from Eve. A gentle and kind girl like Zicheng was loved by everyone. That's right, Zicheng. Don't go. Look at how much everyone likes you. Fengwu, say a few words too. Irene also looked at Zicheng with a worried expression, as if she was really worried about her safety. As for letting Fengwu say a few words, it was completely to provoke Eve. Irene knew that the person Eve hated the most was Fengwu. If she let Fengwu speak now, Eve might make a scene again. Irene couldn't wait for Eve to make more trouble. It would be even better if she implicated Zicheng as well. She had made up her mind to snatch Zicheng's opportunity. Since they couldn't be friends anymore, she naturally wanted to create more trouble for the female lead. When the others heard that Irene let Fengwu say a few words, their gazes became a little strange. What was this Irene doing? She clearly knew that it wasn't suitable for Fengwu to speak at this time, yet she still let Fengwu speak. Did she want Zicheng to stay, or did she want her to leave? What should I say? Fengwu looked up at Irene in confusion. Did she have to say something? But what should she say? No one taught her. You can say whatever you want. Irene almost wanted to roll her eyes. She really didn't know whether this Fengwu was really an idiot or just pretending to be an idiot. However, for the sake of her plan, Irene resisted the urge to roll her eyes. Say whatever she wanted. But she didn't want to say anything. Fengwu felt even more confused. I don't have anything I want to say. Fengwu honestly said what was on her mind. Was she doing this on purpose? Irene was very suspicious. Even Zicheng was beginning to wonder if he had misjudged Fengwu. He had always thought that Fengwu was a very pure girl, but now she was acting as if she couldn't wait for him to leave with Eve. Could this be her true intention? The others more or less had their suspicions, but when they looked at Fengwu's serious and confused expression, it didn't seem like she was deliberately targeting anyone. Could it be that Fengwu was a girl so pure that she was a little silly? Everyone's thoughts were in sync at this moment. At this time, Melissa also spoke up. Zicheng, you should stay. It's too dangerous for you to leave with Eve. Most importantly, Eve's personality was too good at causing trouble. Melissa also had a good impression of Zicheng. She really didn't want to see such a gentle and beautiful girl get dragged down by an ignorant young miss. Zicheng only smiled faintly and said casually, I'm fine. I've decided to leave with Eve. I think this place isn't far from the forest. We should be able to leave after walking for a while. As long as we leave the forest and be careful, we should be able to reach the neutral city soon. When the others saw that they couldn't persuade Zicheng, they could only helplessly let him leave with the unreliable Eve. Zicheng left with Eve under everyone's gazes. Eve was very obedient this time. She didn't make a big fuss or make a big fuss. She silently followed behind Zicheng. She seemed to have realized that because of her, she had implicated the only good friend in the team. Zicheng is too kind. Why does that Eve care about her? That young miss is so good at implicating others. It's too late to stay away from her, but Zicheng actually left with her. Silda sighed. Yeah, Zicheng is really a good girl. She was clearly implicated and almost couldn't pass the exam, but she still worries about Eve's safety. When Hans thought of Zicheng's kindness, he disliked Eve even more. Although the others didn't say anything, they all felt that Zicheng was a good girl. She and Eve had only known each other for 2 days, but she took care of her so much. There were only 2 people who didn't have any thoughts about Zicheng. One was of course Irene. She was also a transmigrator, and her goal was to defeat the female lead. Naturally, she didn't have any good feelings towards the female lead. As for Fengwu, she didn't understand what had happened at all, so she naturally didn't have any good feelings towards Zicheng. Zicheng, who hadn't walked far with Eve, heard continuous notifications ring in his ears. Eve's favorability towards you increases by 30. Gannard's favorability towards you increases by 20. Silda's favorability towards you increases by 10. Han's favorability towards you increases by 20. Melissa's favorability towards you increases by 10. Almond's favorability towards you increases by 10. Peled's favorability towards you increases by 10. Kyle's favorability towards you increases by 10. A series of notifications rang out. Zicheng was quite satisfied with the favorability she had gained this time. This favorability system was Zicheng's golden finger. The favorability of these people towards her would be calculated by the system, and she could use the favorability to exchange for various items in the system. There were legendary magic staffs, holy magic books, talent-enhancing potions, and other things that money couldn't buy in this world. Of course, if she wanted to exchange for legendary magic staffs and holy magic books, the amount of favorability required was very high. Even if she wanted to exchange for them, she didn't have the ability to do so. The reason her innate talent could reach level 12 was because of the help of the talent-enhancing potion. After consuming the talent-enhancing potion, it could randomly increase one's magic innate talent. Her luck was very good. She only took one bottle and her magic innate talent was raised to level 12. Zicheng was very glad that the previous owner of her body was just an invisible person. No one would help her test her innate talent. Otherwise, if her innate talent suddenly increased by so much, it would definitely attract the attention of others. At that time, what awaited her would be a disaster. Chapter 30. She pulled out the system's favorability panel and took a look. Sure enough, everyone's favorability towards her had increased except for two people. One was Irene, and the other was Fengwu. Irene gave her a very strange feeling. She clearly didn't do anything to offend her, but their favorability was only a mere 50 points. It wasn't even the minimum level. Fengwu's favorability was even worse. It was only 40 points, even lower than Irene's. What was going on? Was she angry at her because of Eve? But then again, that didn't seem right. Whether it was Fengwu or Irene, they gave her a very strange feeling. Since it was Irene, she was sure that the two didn't know each other before, but from the first time they met, she felt a faint hostility from Irene. Although Irene hid it very well, she still noticed it. Eve, who left with Zicheng, didn't know what Zicheng was thinking. She was still touched that she could meet such a good friend who didn't leave her when she was in trouble. This was a true friend. A day later, Pelt's team finally arrived at the entrance of the forest. Because Zicheng and Eve had left, the entire team was reduced to 9 people. After the 9 of them left the forest, they walked down the only path down the mountain. If they wanted to go to the neutral city, they had to avoid the local natives. The invigilator said that the natives would kill the candidates if they saw them. Fortunately, after exiting the forest, they could see a city surrounded by blue walls not far away. That should be the neutral city. Near the neutral city, there were a few scattered villages. Many locals wearing beast skin clothes could be seen moving about in the villages. After carefully avoiding the locals, the 9 of them finally arrived at the neutral city 2 days later. Because they didn't have any means of transportation, they could only walk. Moreover, even though the neutral city didn't seem too far away, they still had to avoid the locals. Naturally, it would take a lot of time. Fortunately, 2 days later, the 9 of them arrived at the neutral city without any injuries. This neutral city was a city where all the candidates rested and rested. There were many people doing business in the city, but the people living here were very friendly. They weren't like the locals outside the city who killed outsiders on sight. In the neutral city, all fighting was prohibited. Once someone was found to be fighting in the city, they would immediately be disqualified from the exam. Most importantly, these candidates were not allowed to harm the residents of the neutral city. If they dared to attack the residents of the neutral city, they would be immediately chased out of the city and never be allowed to enter again. After seeing everything in the neutral city, Irene felt that this world was indeed very magical. It was simply like an online game, and a holographic one at that. Those natives outside the city were monsters, the residents in the city were NPCs, and the neutral city was a safe zone. Looking at it this way, Irene suspected that the person who created this exam venue was also a fellow transmigrator. It was just that this fellow transmigrator was a little too powerful. He could actually create a holographic online game in a magical world. Could it be that this fellow transmigrator had already become a god? Irene didn't know, but her guess was not far from the truth. Thousands of years ago, there was indeed a male transmigrator who came to this world. After he became a god, he used the holographic online game in his memories as a foundation to create this virtual world. He then left this world to the academy that nurtured him, Notre Dame du Starlight. From then on, this virtual world created by that transmigrator became the examination venue of Notre Dame du Starlight. It also became the place where the students of the academy usually trained. These are all digressions, so let's not talk about them for now. Let's get back to the main topic. After Fengwu and the other 9 arrived at the neutral city, the 9 of them separated according to their previous agreement. This was because the invigilator had said that there was a treasure map in the neutral city. If they were to team up again, it would be difficult to split the treasure. It wouldn't be good for them to find the treasure that belonged to them. After the 9 of them separated, the first thing the Phoenix Queen did was find a bun shop. Fengwu's favorite big meat buns were not brought to this world. Because her space ring wasn't brought to this world, Fengwu had been in this virtual world for 3 days and hadn't eaten a single meat bun. She had been hungry for 3 days and had eaten the prey that the boys had hunted for her. The meat buns in this world were a little more expensive than those in the real world. One of them cost 5 copper coins. Fengwu took out 2 silver coins at once and asked the shopkeeper to fill the meat buns with 2 silver coins each. The currency exchange in this world was the same as in the real world. It was 1,000 copper coins for 1 silver coin. 100 silver coins for 1 gold coin. After packing the 400 big meat buns into her space bag, Fengwu took out a meat bun and happily gnawed on it. The natives passing by saw a cute little girl in a white dress happily gnawing on a big meat bun. They couldn't help but smile. While Fengwu was gnawing on the meat bun, Irene used her experience from reading novels in her previous life to contact the natives on the streets to see if she could find any quests. Irene already treated finding the treasure map as a quest. Since the Invigilator had said that the treasure map was in the neutral city, then the natives must have some clues. What she needed to do now was to help the natives like in the novels and then wait for the rewards. However, things didn't develop as Irene expected. After leaving Fengwu and the others, Irene passed by a flower shop and saw a notice on the door asking for help picking the magic sword orchid. So she tentatively ran into the shop and asked the lady boss if she could go pick it. The lady boss sized up Irene a few times and said that a customer in the shop had ordered a magic sword orchid and wanted to go to a certain mountain to pick it. Erin immediately agreed to the lady boss's request. She ran to the mountain and fought a fierce battle with the magical beasts guarding the flowers. She obtained the flowers that the lady boss wanted. However, the lady boss only gave Erin 5 silver coins as a reward. She didn't provide any clues about the treasure map. Of course, Irene wasn't going to let it go just like that. She directly told the lady boss that she wanted to find the treasure map, but the lady boss said that she didn't know anything. Irene didn't give up and kept pestering the lady boss until she finally angered the lady boss. The lady boss directly splashed a basin of dirty water on Irene. Fortunately, Irene dodged quickly. Otherwise, she would have been drenched in dirty water. Irene angrily turned and left. Although she still wanted to ask the lady boss clearly, the lady boss clearly didn't have a good temper. Irene also didn't want to offend the natives too much, so she could only leave with her tail between her legs. Irene wasn't the only one asking about the treasure map. Of course, there were others. When Irene was chased away by the flower shop owner, Zicheng and Eve came to the neutral city with another party. Chapter 31. After arriving at the neutral city, Zicheng, who also came from Earth, also discovered that this world seemed to be somewhat related to online games. However, Zicheng didn't play games in his previous life. He had only occasionally read 1 or 2 online gaming novels. Although he had only read 2 online gaming novels, Zicheng still had some understanding of how to accept missions in the game. After arriving at the neutral city, Zicheng and Eve bade farewell to the rest of the team. Zicheng originally wanted to search for clues alone, but Eve followed him closely. Zicheng thought of the 95 points of favorability between him and Eve. In order to maintain the favorability, even if he didn't want to let Eve follow him, he could only endure it and search for clues with Eve. The two walked around the city and asked many natives, but they didn't receive any missions. Zicheng couldn't help but wonder if he was wrong. Was this world actually different from online games? Just as he was thinking this, a mission notice suddenly appeared in a nearby shop. It turned out that this was a shop that specialized in making weapons. This time, someone had ordered a magic sword from the shop, and this sword required the core of a rank 3 magical beast. The shop posted a notice that they were buying a rank 3 magical beast core, and it had to be a rank 3 Earth-type Great Earth Ape. It was written that as long as someone could hunt down a rank 3 magical beast core, the shop would reward them greatly in addition to the mission fee. Seeing this, Zicheng immediately brought Eve to the shop to accept the mission. At the same time, Many shops posted mission notices that required others to help them complete missions. Many clever candidates guessed that if they wanted to find clues to the treasure map, they would have to start with the natives. Thus, many candidates accepted missions from the natives. There were also some who couldn't be bothered to find the treasure map and were more inclined to take the risk to find the magical item required by the academy. Feng Wu, on the other hand, didn't think too much about it. She was busy eating right now. After eating the 10th big meat bun, Feng Wu went to some shops to buy water bags and went to the river to fill them with water. He also bought a tent for staying overnight in the wilderness and a fire crystal for lighting a fire. After everything was prepared, Feng Wu found a cheap hotel and booked a room for the night. The first day of entering the city passed peacefully. The next day, Feng Wu blinked her big eyes. She was not used to waking up in an unfamiliar bed. It took him 2 seconds to remember that he was taking the entrance exam of the Notre Dame du Starlight. After washing up, Feng Wu checked out of the room and left the hotel. What should she do now? Feng Wu was a little confused. That teacher seemed to have said that there was a treasure map, but what was a treasure map? Feng Wu, who had lived in the mountains since she was a child, naturally had never heard of something like a treasure map. The teacher who had explained the rules didn't expect that there would be someone in this world who was so clueless as to not even know what a treasure map was. Feng Wu blinked her big eyes. She suddenly remembered that a Jur had said that there were many books in the library and that there was a lot of knowledge in the books. Thus, the Feng Wu girl made a decision. She would go to the library and look for what a treasure map was in the books. This girl didn't think of asking anyone from the beginning. In fact, the reason why Feng Wu didn't think of asking anyone was because a Jur had a lot to do with it. A Jur knew that Feng Wu's personality was very pure. He was afraid that this girl would be cheated, so before the first exam, a Jur had told Feng Wu a lot of things. For example, she couldn't talk to strangers casually, she couldn't listen to strangers casually. There were a lot of things like that. Feng Wu might not be good at other things, but she had a very good memory. Therefore, this girl remembered a Jur's words very well and executed them quite well. Other than the first day when she entered the examination hall and teamed up with Peida and the others, Feng Wu did not talk to any other candidates, nor did she have any contact with anyone else. The reason why she teamed up with Peida was because a Jur said that she could temporarily team up with others when necessary. However, not everyone in the same team was a good person, so even if they were in the same team, she had to be vigilant. In short, a Jur wanted to tell this girl everything. Although Feng Wu couldn't understand all of it, she knew that a Jur was doing it for her own good, so she took it all down seriously. After deciding to go to the library, Feng Wu suddenly remembered that she didn't know the way to the library. She blinked and looked at the people coming and going on the street. At this time, Feng Wu finally thought that she could ask someone for directions. After deciding on the direction, the Feng Wu girl carefully observed all the pedestrians on the roadside and walked towards a bun shop. When the bun shop owner saw Feng Wu, he immediately greeted her with a smile. "Little girl, are you buying buns again?" The boss asked with a smile. The boss was very satisfied with Feng Wu's sales ability. If everyone could have such purchasing power, their family would not be far from becoming rich. Feng Wu walked to the boss's bun shop and looked at him seriously. "Uncle, do you know how to get to the library?" "Library?" The bun shop owner wiped his chubby hands on his apron and said, "Our neutral city does have a library, but that library charges a silver coin for an hour of reading. Little girl, if you want to read books, you can go to a bookstore. The library is expensive," the fat boss kindly advised. Feng Wu thanked the boss for his reminder, but she still insisted on going to the library. Seeing that Feng Wu wouldn't listen, the boss could only helplessly call out his youngest son. The boss's youngest son was only 7 years old this year and was a naughty chubby boy. The boss let his son take Feng Wu to the library. The chubby boy and his father bargained and finally agreed to lead the way for Feng Wu at the price of a drumstick. The boss originally wanted to beat the kid up, but when Feng Wu heard that the chubby boy wanted a drumstick, she took out a drumstick from her space bag and gave it to the chubby boy. Since Feng Wu paid for the drumstick herself, the fat boss could not say anything. He could only let his son quickly lead the way. The chubby boy was very satisfied with Feng Wu's tactfulness. He happily ran to lead the way for Fengwu. The neutral city's library was very hidden. If it wasn't for the chubby boy leading the way, it would take a lot of luck for a normal person to find it. No one would have thought that the library was built in a basement. The chubby boy led Fengwu through a few small alleys and then into a very luxurious building. This luxurious building was a shop that sold all kinds of magic staffs and magic swords. The things in the shop were very expensive. The chubby boy naturally couldn't take Fengwu to the shop to buy things. He directly took Fengwu to the back of the shop. There was a basement behind the shop. That was where the library was. Chapter 32. She followed the little fatty down the stairs. At the bottom of the stairs was a large wooden door. She didn't know what kind of wood this door was made of, but it looked very heavy. There were all kinds of magical beasts carved on the door. At the bottom were some low-grade magical beasts, while at the top were legendary sacred beasts. There were over 1,000 types of magical beasts carved on the door, and none of them were the same. Fengwu didn't know much about the magical beasts of Heavenly Wind, so she only felt that these magical beasts looked very powerful. She didn't know that what she was looking at was the legendary sacred beast carvings. On the door, there was a sign with the words, "Neutral City Library," carved on it. The words were written in the common language of the continent. Although Fengwu didn't have the original owner's memories, she could understand these words even though she had never learned the language of this continent. "We've reached the library. I'll go back first. To thank you for your chicken drumstick, I'll tell you another piece of news. The curator said before that as long as anyone can help him organize the books, he'll pay them to read. It's just that there are many books in this library, and the curator doesn't pay them. He only wants them to read, so no one is willing to take this job. If you're so interested in the books, you can go to the curator for an interview. If the curator keeps you, you'll be able to read for free." The little fatty had a good impression of Fengwu. Because Fengwu didn't bargain at all and gave him a chicken drumstick, the little fatty didn't mind telling Fengwu more about himself. "If you want to organize the books here, just tell the curator that Steamed Bun Li Jisheo belongs to me. Steamed Bun Li is my dad. My dad's name is Li, and I'm Jie. Alright, big sister, I'll go back first. Dad's still waiting for me to help him look after the shop." The little fatty called Jie didn't wait for Fengwu to reply and waved the chicken drumstick in his hand as he ran off. The little fatty couldn't bear to eat it the entire way. After sending Fengwu back, he happily went to enjoy the drumstick. After Fatty left, Fengwu stood outside the library and stared at the door for a full 3 minutes before trying to push the door open. The door looked quite heavy, but it wasn't particularly hard to push it open. Although it wasn't to the point where it would open with a gentle push, it didn't take too much effort. The library built in the basement should be cold and damp, but the light in this library was very abundant, and there was sunlight shining in through the window. The library wasn't cold at all. Instead, it had the smell of the sun. As for the humidity characteristic of the basement, it didn't even exist. After Fengwu opened the door and walked into the library, the door closed behind her. The sound of the door closing was not loud, but it was very abrupt in the quiet library. In such an unfamiliar place, the door would close on its own. Anyone would think that there was something wrong with this place and try to escape. However, Fengwu's brain had always been wired differently from ordinary people. After looking back at the closed door, she walked directly to the large desk not far from the door. There was an old man sleeping behind the desk, and he seemed to be in a deep sleep. He didn't even notice that his saliva was dripping from the corner of his mouth onto the cover of the book. Fengwu stood there obediently and watched the old man sleep. She stood there for 3 hours. In a room that Fengwu didn't know about, a water mirror reflected all the candidates participating in the examination. The images in the water mirror kept changing. Sometimes, it showed a young man hunting magical beasts in the mountains, sometimes it showed a young girl harvesting herbs, and sometimes it showed a person helping a child remove a kite from a tree. There was also a young girl who had obtained a treasure map and was about to go on a treasure hunt excitedly. At this moment, the image changed to a male swordsman. There wasn't anything special about this swordsman. What was special was that after he helped an old man do something, he didn't get the treasure map he wanted other than some copper coins. Thus, he became angry from embarrassment and raised his sword to threaten the old man. At this time, the city guards of the neutral city appeared. This man didn't have time to make a move before he was captured by the city guards. A notice appeared on all the large signs in the city. A certain candidate threatened the natives and was locked up for 7 days as punishment. It was hoped that all candidates would take this as a warning and not do it again. When the 3 people in front of the water mirror saw this scene, they couldn't help but shake their heads and sigh. Young people these days really can't keep their cool. The one who spoke was one of the 3 invigilators, a swordsman. The swordsman who spoke was one of the 2 male teachers. He looked more stern. The other had a gentle smile on his face. It was obvious that he had a good temper. They are still very young. Back when we participated in this examination, weren't there many situations as well? The smiling teacher seemed to have thought of something. There was a trace of nostalgia on his face. I hope there will be good seedlings in this batch. Recently, the demon race seems to have a *****. Many low-level demons have come to the human world through spatial rifts and devour human lives. Among us humans, there are still too few who can fight against the demon race and other races. I really hope there will be another person like Longza Gamma thousands of years ago. The only female teacher among the 3 said with a sigh. Longza Gamma. To all magicians, he was a person who created miracles. 1,000 years ago, he was an ordinary farmer's youth. Moreover, his talent just happened to be at the 7th level. However, through his own efforts, he became the only magician in 1,000 years to become a god. Longza Gamma wasn't just a magician. He was also the only god-level pharmacist in the entire continent. His legend spread across the entire continent. He led the human race to fight against the demon race, against the Shura race, and together with the master of the 3 realms, he established the 3 Realms Treaty and maintained the peace of the human world for thousands of years. In the hearts of all magicians, Longza Gamma was a godlike man. In the end, he really did become a god. Although I also hope that there will be another Longza Gamma, it is too difficult for someone with the same talent as Longza Gamma to appear in this world. The magic continent has been formed for tens of thousands of years, and there has only been one Longza Gamma. Longza Gamma's talent wasn't in magic, but in the production of medicine. Many of the potion formulas that were passed down now were passed down by Longza Gamma. The Tianfeng continent had been formed for many years. In the end, there were only 10 people who could become god-level pharmacists. These 10 people were all influential figures of their time. Of course, the most famous of the 10 was Longza Gamma. While the 3 were talking, the image on the water mirror kept changing. Finally, it stopped on Zicheng and Eve. In the image, Zicheng was buying a lot of food and giving it to the beggars in the alley. Eve was standing aside with a look of indifference. It seems that this girl is not only talented, but also has a good temperament. The female teacher looked at Zicheng in the image and said with admiration, "She is indeed a rare good child. It's just that the girl next to her has a worse temperament." The more serious male teacher frowned. Chapter 33. After all, there are too few children with magical talent in this world. Once a child is found to have magical talent, no matter how talented they will receive special treatment at home. In the long run, even a child with a decent temperament will be spoiled beyond recognition. The male teacher with a gentle smile sighed softly. People in this world were all the same. They would give special treatment to talented children, and spoil them especially. But who knew that it was this kind of spoiling that made it difficult for many children to achieve great things in the end? Instead, it was those children who grew up in ordinary families who had an advantage in the test of temperament. Look at this child. If I remember correctly, this child was the only one who restrained her aura during the first talent test. What is this child doing now? Just now, the image moved to her a few times, but I noticed that she was standing there motionlessly. How strange. The only female teacher fixed the image on the black-haired, black-eyed girl. The three teachers observed this strange girl together. 3 hours later, the sleeping old man opened his sleepy eyes. As soon as he raised his head, he saw a cute, black-haired girl standing in front of his large desk. A pair of big, curious eyes were staring at him with satisfaction. The old man jumped in fright and almost fell off his chair. After stabilizing his body with great difficulty, the old man immediately pulled out the chair and stood up. "Little girl, are you here to read books? Do you know that reading here costs 1 silver coin per hour?" The old man wiped the corner of his mouth to hide it. As expected, he touched a suspicious water stain. He wiped the water stain on his mouth, then wiped it on the black magic robe he was wearing. It was the annihilation drama. Fengwu tilted her head. She saw the old man's every move clearly, but she didn't say anything. "I'm here to look for a job. I heard that you can read books for free by organizing books here." This child is so direct. The old man's mouth twitched. "That's true. But I don't accept just anyone." After saying that, he looked at Fengwu's small body critically. "Li introduced me." Fengwu looked at the old man seriously and said, "Li, their buns are really delicious. I haven't eaten them in a long time." The old man licked his lips in nostalgia. "Well, for Li's sake, you can stay and help me organize the books. But I won't pay you, so you have to be mentally prepared," the old man stated in advance. "I know. I just want to read." Fengwu nodded to show that she understood. Therefore, 3 hours later, Fengwu was successfully detained. After arranging Fengwu's work, the old man continued to sleep with a book in his arms, as if he could never get enough sleep. Fengwu obediently followed the old man's instructions. She took down a pile of books from the bookshelf and arranged them according to the types of books. Half an hour later, Fengwu had just finished half of her work when the library's door was pushed open again. A blue-haired girl pushed open the heavy door and walked in. After the girl entered the library, she curiously looked up and down. As Fengwu was surrounded by a pile of books, the blue-haired girl did not see her. After looking around the library, the blue-haired girl walked to the old man who was sleeping soundly and knocked on the long desk. The old man was not awakened. He smacked his lips and continued to sleep in another position. The blue-haired girl was not discouraged. She continued to knock on the desk. Finally, the old man opened his eyes. "Hello, I'm an adventurer from the outside world. I need to find some information. Can I read here for a while?" Irene asked politely. The old man looked at Irene indifferently. He wiped the saliva from the corner of his mouth and said, "1 silver coin for an hour of reading." "How many hours do you plan to read for?" 2 hours will be enough. If I still haven't found the information I want, I'll add more money." Irene smiled and handed the old man 2 silver coins. "Call me if you want to read more when the time is up." After saying that, the old man ignored Irene and went to sleep. After the old man fell asleep on the desk, Irene looked around the library. The library was very big. She did not know if she could find what she was looking for. However, that child would not lie to her. Irene thought of the reason why she came to the library. An hour ago, she helped a child who was lost on the street. After sending the child home, she asked the child's parents about the clues to the treasure map. The parents told her that there were many precious books in the only library in the city. Perhaps there would be the clues she was looking for. After receiving this clue, Irene was overjoyed. She asked for the location of the library. It took her more than 40 minutes to find this mysterious library in the city. Her original plan was to snatch Zicheng's opportunity and make Zicheng lose the chance to find the holy magic book. She knew that the reason Zicheng got the magic book was because she gave food to a group of beggars. An old beggar was grateful for the female lead's kindness, so he took out a treasure map and gave it to her. The magic item hidden in the treasure map was a saint-level magic book. There was only one saint-level spell recorded in the book, but this spell was very powerful. It was left behind by the powerful Longzi Gamer thousands of years ago. Because Zicheng got the treasure left behind by Longzi Gamer, he was especially valued by the Academy. His importance was only below that of the 8 people. Thinking of those 8 people, Irene's eyes became more determined. Those 8 people were the chosen masters of the 8 great divine artifacts. The masters of the 8 great divine artifacts, each of them had the power to destroy heaven and earth. They also bore the heavy responsibility of protecting the peace of the continent. They were valued by the Holy Temple. In the book, these 8 people were also very powerful. However, 3 of the 8 people died fighting for Zicheng. Other than 2 people who did not have any contact with Zicheng, the others were on good terms with Zicheng. They also took care of her. Irene shook her head, shaking off the messy thoughts in her mind. Now was not the time to think about these things. Her thoughts went back to an hour ago. An hour ago, she wanted to find the group of beggars before Zicheng, but she was still one step too late. The group of beggars appeared at random times. She went around the area a few times and did not find any beggars. However, the female lead found them as soon as she went there. Although she was not convinced by the female lead's good luck, the matter was already settled. She did not have the time to complain. What she needed to do now was to find the other magic item as soon as possible. Fortunately, her luck was not bad. Before she found the group of beggars, she sent a little boy home. From the little boy's parents, she found out that there was such a library in this city. The little boy's parents told her that there were many precious books in the library. There might be clues in those books that she was looking for. Chapter 34. Thus, after Irene asked how to get to the library, she spent a lot of time finding the library. However, there were too many books in the library. How was she going to find the clues she wanted? Irene thought for a long time and decided to look at the books about local customs and geography. With her experience playing online games, the most important clues would not be recorded in the important books. Instead, it was easier to find clues in the books that were not usually valued. After finding the books she wanted from the bookshelf, Erin hugged a few thick books and sat down at a random table. She started reading quietly. Fengwu only blinked her big eyes and looked at Irene before she focused on doing her own things. Irene sat there and read for more than an hour. When she was tired and stretched, she looked up and found Fengwu not far away, who was standing on a ladder and organizing the books. Irene was shocked. After being stunned for a few seconds, she walked to Fengwu. "Fengwu, why are you here?" Fengwu lowered her head and saw Irene looking at her with a shocked expression. "I've been here for almost 2 hours." Fengwu answered seriously. After answering, she wiped the books in her hands and put them back on the shelf. "Then you're here earlier than me." Irene was shocked. She did not expect that there was someone else in the library other than her. This Fengwu had been here for so long and did not make a sound. Moreover, she did not pay attention to her. What was she trying to do? Unable to guess Fengwu's intentions, Irene could only guard against Fengwu in her heart. "Yes, I'm here earlier than you." Fengwu nodded honestly. Did she have to be so honest? She did not know how to continue the conversation. Irene could not help but frown. "Why didn't you call me? Neutral City is so big and we still met. It must be fate," Irene said with a smile. "Why did I have to call you?" Fengwu stopped wiping the books and looked down at Irene. Why did I have to call her? What kind of question was this? Was this girl really not doing it on purpose? Irene suspected that this Fengwu was pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. However, looking at the girl's serious expression and eyes, it did not seem like she was pretending. If she was, then her acting skills could win a few Oscars. Ha ha. Irene laughed and did not answer the question directly. She looked at the ladder under Fengwu's feet and then at the cloth in Fengwu's hands. "Fengwu, are you wiping the books? Why are you doing these things?" Irene was not trying to find an excuse to change the topic. She was really curious about what this Fengwu wanted to do here. "I work here. Naturally, I have to do things." Fengwu took out a book to wipe and put it back when she answered Irene. "You work here?" Irene's surprised voice changed. What did she come here to do? She actually started working. Could it be that she was not preparing to look for the treasure map or go on the road to look for opportunities? Or was she doing some hidden mission? As long as she helped with the library, she could get clues or something like that. Because she could not guess Feng Wu's thoughts, Irene began to let her imagination run wild. Feng Wu nodded as an answer. However, was it strange to work here? She blinked and blinked again. She did not understand what they were thinking. Feng Wu, could it be that you received some hidden mission? As long as you help with these books, you can get clues to the treasure map? Irene's words were a test for Feng Wu. She suspected that Feng Wu was also a transmigrator. That was why she used the online gaming language. For example, if one was not a transmigrator, no one in this world would be able to understand the hidden mission. Originally, Irene wanted to see Feng Wu give herself away. However, she did not expect that Feng Wu only blinked her eyes in confusion and did not answer her. It was as if she did not understand what she was saying at all. Could it be that she guessed wrong? This Feng Wu was not a transmigrator. However, she did not look like a reincarnated person either. Could it be that she guessed wrong? Feng Wu was a native of Heavenly Wind Continent. She was not a transmigrator or reincarnator. I don't know what the hidden mission is. I only know that if I work here, I can read books for free. Hidden mission? What was that? Why couldn't she understand Irene's words? You can only read books for free? Irene did not really believe Feng Wu's words. She thought that Feng Wu was not telling the truth. However, even if she did not tell the truth, it was not hard to understand. Thinking about it from another perspective, if she encountered a rare hidden mission, would she tell others just because they asked her? Wouldn't she be an idiot then? Feng Wu nodded her head, indicating that this was the case. Although Irene did not believe it, it was not good for her to ask too much about this kind of thing. The two of them did not continue chatting and went about their own business. Feng Wu was busy tidying up the books while Irene was busy reading. Soon, 2 hours passed. Irene was lucky enough to find some clues in the book. She saw a paragraph in the travelogue. The author of the travelogue found a strange light in a cave when he passed by a nearby mountain. He suspected that there was a treasure in the world. However, he did not find anything when he went there. In the end, the author could only leave regretfully. Reading this, Irene felt that this paragraph was an important clue. Therefore, when Irene saw this paragraph, she wrote down the address and left in a hurry. Feng Wu spent the whole day helping the old man tidy up the books. When she did not have to work at night, she lit the candle and read books. Fortunately, although this library did not pay, it would give you a place to live. Although the place was only a small utility room, Feng Wu had never been picky about where to sleep, so she gladly accepted it. In the following days, Feng Wu went to work during the day and read books for a few hours at night. After that, she went to sleep. Her life was very regular. The old man in the library was actually the curator. After observing Feng Wu for a few days, he expressed his curiosity about this little girl. This little girl named Feng Wu was young, but she was very strong. This little girl could move such heavy books by herself. What made the old curator feel the most incredible was that this little girl read very fast. Sometimes when he came to patrol at night, he saw this little girl holding a book and flipping through it for a few minutes before changing to another one. Originally, the old curator thought that Feng Wu was just reading casually. Later, one day, because he couldn't sleep at night, the old curator randomly picked a book that Feng Wu had read and said that he wanted to test her. As a result, Feng Wu answered all the questions that the old curator set. She even remembered the book number clearly. This amazing memory made the old curator feel very incredible. Chapter 35. Feng Wu read a wide range of books. Apart from swordsmanship, she also read books on magic. Although Feng Wu didn't have any talent for magic, Feng Wu was curious about it, especially when she saw how a Jur could set himself on fire and how Irene could heal everyone with magic. Therefore, Feng Wu always wanted to understand what magic was. It wasn't easy for her to read so many books on magic, so Feng Wu naturally wouldn't let go of such a good opportunity. For the next half a month, Feng Wu didn't go anywhere. She was completely immersed in the sea of books and read all the books on magic in the library. Feng Wu's reading speed and her amazing memory surprised even the 3 supervising teachers in front of the water mirror, apart from the head librarian. This child's memory is terrifying. If she had any talent for magic, her future would be extraordinary. It's a pity that she doesn't have any talent at all. The female mage in front of the water mirror said regretfully. So what if she doesn't have any talent for magic? This child will also be extraordinary in our swordsmanship department. Don't you think so, James? James, the stern teacher in the swordsmanship department, glanced lightly at the smiling fellow beside him and didn't reply. Half a month had passed without them noticing. In this half a month, some people had found something, but it wasn't what they needed. From the initial excitement of finding the required item to the subsequent disappointment, their moods had changed drastically. Some of the smarter ones found people in the safe zone to trade, while those who weren't smart naturally knew to follow suit when they saw others doing so. Those who didn't find anything scowled miserably and could only look on with envy and jealousy as others traded for the magic items they needed in front of them. At the same time, they made up their minds to work harder to find what they needed in the coming days. After helping the librarian for half a month, Feng Wu finally sorted out the places the old librarian had requested. Because the work was completed, Feng Wu naturally couldn't stay in the library to read free books. Before she left, Feng Wu finally found the information she wanted and knew what a treasure map was. So, a treasure map was a map. Some people hid their treasures and drew the place where they hid their treasures. This way, they could make a treasure map. After reading books for half a month, Feng Wu finally learned something. During her time in the library, Feng Wu had not only read a lot of books about magic, but she also found a piece of worn-out parchment in an old book. If someone else had found such a thing, they would have definitely hidden it away and searched for the location marked on the parchment. However, Feng Wu clearly wasn't an ordinary person. After finding the map, Feng Wu didn't put it into her spatial bag. Instead, she took the mysterious map to the old curator. The old curator stared at the map for a while before he recalled the origin of the map. According to the old curator, the map was found by the 3rd curator of this library when he was traveling. At that time, the 3rd curator put in a lot of effort to study the treasure map that was engraved on the parchment. It wasn't easy for him to find the location of the treasure, but he couldn't find it no matter how hard he tried. After that, several generations of curators studied the treasure map. When they arrived at the location, they dug up the ground nearby but still couldn't find anything. After confirming that the treasure map might be a prank, the current curator casually threw the treasure map in a corner. He didn't expect that Feng Wu would find it now. The old curator saw that Feng Wu seemed to be very interested in the useless treasure map, so he gave the treasure map to Feng Wu. After Feng Wu thanked the curator, she happily put the treasure map into her spatial bag. After finishing her work, Feng Wu asked where the treasure was found by the previous curators. After getting the answer, she waved goodbye to the old curator. After leaving the library, Feng Wu walked alone on the streets of Neutral City. She blinked her big eyes and thought about what to do next. In the end, Feng Wu decided to go directly to the mountain range mentioned by the curator to see if she could find the treasure. Before going to look for the treasure, Feng Wu went to the Li family's bun shop and bought 200 big meat buns. Because of Feng Wu's purchasing power, the bun shop owner namely gave Feng Wu a few extra red bean buns. The red bean buns were sweet. After taking a bite, Feng Wu liked the taste and ordered 100 red bean buns. Li was so happy that he couldn't close his mouth. When Feng Wu asked him for directions, he told Feng Wu that she could hitch a ride at the relay station. The relay station didn't charge much. It only cost 2 silver coins per person. Feng Wu had less than 5 silver coins left, so she could still afford to hitch a ride to the relay station. Perhaps he really liked girls like Feng Wu who liked to eat his buns, so he got his chubby son, Jie, to lead the way for Feng Wu. This time, Jie didn't ask Feng Wu for drumsticks. Perhaps he had been taught a lesson by his father, so he obediently led the way for Feng Wu. After sending Feng Wu to the relay station, the chubby boy waved goodbye to Feng Wu. Feng Wu found a beast carriage at the relay station that would take her to the mountain range mentioned by the curator. She paid the driver 2 silver coins and got on the carriage. As soon as Feng Wu got on the carriage, a series of resentful screams were heard. Other than Feng Wu, there were a few other people in the carriage who could be considered Feng Wu's enemies. There was Alice, who claimed to be the daughter of the president of the Hermes Chamber of Commerce in Anlo City. There was also Orlando and her group, who tried to annoy Feng Wu on the flying beast carriage. However, other than her 3 followers, there were only 2 other brainless suitors who were with Orlando. The captain and vice-captain of Orlando's group were nowhere to be seen. They probably weren't with the 6 of them. The 7 people in the carriage could be said to be Feng Wu's enemies. However, Feng Wu didn't take them to heart. Hearing the screams, Feng Wu only raised her head to take a look. Although she felt that she had seen them before, she couldn't remember their names no matter how hard she tried. Moreover, these people were obviously hostile to her. Feng Wu wasn't a person who liked to socialize, so she didn't go up to greet them. She just casually found a seat a little farther away from them and sat down. However, the beast carriage was only so big. Even if Feng Wu deliberately sat further away, it was still impossible for her to be too far away from them. "Alice, you know this woman too?" Hearing the same exclamation coming from the side, Orlando turned to look at her cousin in surprise. Alice was the daughter of the president of the Hermes Chamber of Commerce and was also her cousin. Although Alice might only be the daughter of a businessman in the upper class, the Hermes Chamber of Commerce was the largest chamber of commerce in Yanai Nation. Its financial resources were definitely one of the best in the country. Chapter 36. Although Orlando's family was also a middle-class aristocrat, in terms of financial resources, it was definitely not comparable to the Hermes Chamber of Commerce. Because of the wealth behind Alice, Orlando was still very friendly to this cousin of hers. In addition, Alice herself was also very generous to her friends and had always given a lot of good things to Orlando. Therefore, Orlando naturally valued Alice, a friend who could bring benefits to herself. "Of course I know her. Do you remember the woman I told you about in Anluo City who embarrassed me?" "That's her," Alice said while gnashing her teeth. She couldn't hide the hatred in her eyes. Alice, who had been doted on since she was a child, had never been so humiliated. That day, Feng Wu had set her up on the crowded street, and many civilians had pointed at her and gossiped about her. Fortunately, her family's guards arrived in time, so she was not taken advantage of by those men with bad intentions on the street. Thinking that she was almost attacked by a man who looked like a pig that day, Alice's heart was filled with shame and anger. Discovering that the enemy of the two was actually the same person, Orlando's mood became a little better. "So the woman you were talking about is her. The person I told you about who eavesdropped on me and Lu on the flying beast carriage and injured us was also her. This woman's heart is really vicious." Orlando looked at Alice with an aggrieved face. Alice was very fond of this gentle cousin who loved her very much. Not only were they cousins, but they were also very good friends. As soon as she heard that the 2 sisters had suffered a big loss in the hands of the same person, Alice's mood was very bad. The 2 pursuers of Orlando on the side, when they saw Feng Wu get on the carriage, their eyes also widened, and the hatred in their eyes was completely undisguised. Now that the monster who could emit fire was not by her side, they would definitely not let go of this woman who dared to hurt Orlando. The 7 people on the carriage all had bad intentions towards Feng Wu. Originally, the 2 pursuers of Orlando wanted to immediately attack Feng Wu, but they were stopped by Orlando. "Orlando, this woman and her companion injured you on the flying beast carriage. Why don't you let us teach her a lesson?" Although the 2 suitors were unwilling to let go of such a great opportunity, the person who stopped them was their goddess, Orlando. No matter how unwilling they were, they could only give up the idea of immediately finding trouble with Feng Wu. "Don't forget that we're in the middle of an examination. If someone finds out that we're attacking other candidates, we might be disqualified." Orlando wasn't an impulsive person. Although she hated Feng Wu for humiliating her on the flying beast carriage, she didn't want to be humiliated. She would never be able to relive the day when she could only struggle and beg incessantly. She could only slowly wait for death, and in the end, she was thrown aside like a dead dog. She, Orlando, had never suffered such a big loss before. She must find this woman in front of her and get her revenge. Although she couldn't wait to tear Fangwu into pieces, she immediately regained her rationality when she remembered that they were in the middle of a test. She had to think of a way to let this woman dig her own grave without having to do it herself. After Orlando's reminder, the two suitors immediately remembered that they were still in the middle of an examination. After half a month, they had only found a sword used by swordmasters and 2 parchments used by swordmasters. Among them, there were still 4 people who didn't get the items they needed. The reason why they hitched a ride on this beast carriage was that they wanted to find the magic items they needed or the parchments that recorded the sword skills in the nearby mountains. They didn't expect that before they found what they needed, they would first encounter Fangwu, this great enemy. Because they were too excited to see Fangwu, they forgot their original purpose. Fortunately, Orlando reminded them. Otherwise, if they really went to kill Fangwu, they would definitely be disqualified. Thinking of this, the two of them immediately looked at Orlando with admiration and gratitude for reminding them just now. Orlando smiled shyly and looked away slightly. In fact, she was very disdainful of the stupidity of these two people. They couldn't even think of such a simple thing. If it weren't for the talent of these two people and their loyalty to her, she wouldn't have bothered with these two idiots. Then what should we do now? Are we just going to let her go like this? Alice was very unwilling to let go of her enemy. Of course not, let's follow her first and look for an opportunity. Orlando said after thinking about it. Among these people, Orlando obviously played the role of the leader, so no one objected to her decision. While they were talking, Orlando had already built a soundproof cover with magic, so she wasn't worried that Fangwu would hear what they were saying. In fact, Fangwu really didn't care about what they were talking about. Fangwu was sitting in the carriage at the moment, eating the big meat buns she bought from Fatty Lee. After spending a few hours in the carriage, they finally arrived at the mountain range marked on the map. Fangwu called the coachman to stop, then she jumped off the beast carriage alone. She took out the map and looked at it to determine the direction, then she ignored the people behind her and walked away alone. Did you guys see that? Don't tell me she's holding the treasure map in her hand. Alice cried out in shock. It must be, otherwise why would she come to this kind of desolate mountain range? The two pursuers thought of the old parchment in Fangwu's hand, and their hearts were burning. On the side, Yali and the other 2 girls were also burning. They still needed 4 magic items. If they could get 1 or 2 more from Fangwu, then there would be more qualified people in their group. The coachman saw that these people were standing at the door and didn't seem to want to continue the journey, so he was very unhappy. Are you guys going to get off or not? If you want to get off, hurry up, I still have to hurry. After the coachman's reminder, the people who had been shocked by the treasure map finally regained their senses. The 7 of them scrambled to get off the carriage and ran in the direction Fangwu had gone. Hey! I say you guys! The coachman saw the direction they chased, and his face changed. Just as he was about to open his mouth to remind them, he didn't expect them to run so fast that they didn't pay attention to the coachman. I originally wanted to remind them that there is the gathering place of the extreme ice birds. How can these people run so fast? The coachman sighed and drove the carriage away. When Fangwu left, the coachman didn't pay attention to the direction Fangwu left, so a certain person reminded him. This time, Orlando and her group of 7 people chased after Fangwu. This target was too big. Even if the coachman wanted to pretend that he didn't see it, it was impossible for him to remind them. He didn't expect that Orlando and her group would ignore the coachman's kindness. Because they missed the coachman's reminder, Orlando and her group were doomed to a tragedy. Chapter 37. Orlando's group of 7 people chased after Fangwu, but even after a few minutes of chasing, they still didn't see Fangwu's figure. The 7 people couldn't help but secretly curse. This woman looked small, but they didn't expect her to walk so fast. Fortunately, although Elu was only a sword master, she had a useless innate spirit ability, that is, olfactory amplification. Under Elu's control, she can amplify her sense of smell by dozens of times, allowing her to smell even the slightest smell. The so-called innate spirit ability refers to the ability that comes out of the mother's womb when a person is born. For example, some people are born with infinite strength, some people are born with the ability to see through things, some people are born with amazing speed, and some people can tell all the ingredients and methods of a certain potion or food as long as they eat it. This ability is also a sensory enhancement ability, but it is much more powerful than Elu's olfactory amplification. The olfactory amplification ability is very rare. People who have this ability are often born pharmacists and are the most wanted apprentices of all powerful pharmacists. There is another innate ability that is also popular among pharmacists: absolute perception. This ability can amplify the perception of one's hands by countless times. When mixing potions, in addition to being able to distinguish all the ingredients, the perception of one's hands is also very important. People who have absolute perception can sense the changes in the potion in the test tube when mixing potions. According to the changes in the potion, they can often know whether the strength and speed they use has an effect on the potion. Such an ability is more important for a pharmacist than the olfactory amplification. As for Ailu's innate ability of smell, it can't be regarded as a remarkable ability. Moreover, this ability doesn't have much use. It can only be used to find things. No matter what profession it is, it can't be used to make any great contribution. This is also the reason why Elu didn't receive as much attention as Orlando and the others in the academy before. With the support of Elu's spirit ability, they didn't lose Fengwu. After chasing for an hour, they still can't see Fengwu's figure. Suddenly, Elu stopped, and her face looked a bit strange. "What's wrong? Why did you stop?" Orlando looked at Eileen with some displeasure, secretly blaming her for wasting time. Regarding Ailu's innate spirit ability, Orlando actually had a trace of jealousy in her heart. Although Ailu's innate spirit ability was of little value, but no matter how useless it was still a kind of talent. Although Orlando thought highly of herself, she didn't have a single innate ability. This made Orlando's mood turn sour every time she saw Ailu use her innate ability. The others also looked at Elu impatiently, causing Elu's face to turn ugly. Of course, she wasn't angry with Orlando, but the aura she smelled made her very uneasy. "There are magical beasts coming from the front. We seem to have entered the territory of some magical beasts." It was not a strange thing for magical beasts to live in a mountain forest like this, so after listening to Elu's words, Orlando and the others not only didn't worry, but also looked at Elu with a look of making a fuss over nothing. "Elu, it's not like you haven't seen a magical beast before. It's just one magical beast. Why are you so useless?" Millie disdainfully snorted, as if she didn't like Elu's cowardice. This time, Elu didn't quarrel with Millie as usual, but instead looked to the front with a dignified face. "It's not just one magical beast, it's a group. They seem to be coming this way. The smell is getting stronger and stronger. There's a very strong smell of ice magic in the air. It should be a group of ice magic beasts. As for the species of magical beasts, I can't tell." Ailu's face became as pale as paper. Obviously, she was very afraid of the approaching magical beasts. Others may not be able to feel it, but from the smell she smelled, she could tell that these magical beasts were very strong. By no means were they ordinary first or second-rank magical beasts, they were at least third-rank magical beasts. What? A group? If it was just one magical beast, the 7 of them wouldn't be afraid, but now there was a group of them. If what Elu said was true, then they must have stepped into the territory of some kind of magical beasts. Thinking that a group of magical beasts was coming here, everyone's face changed in an instant. "Quickly, let's get out of here first." Orlando knew Elu's ability. She knew that Elu wouldn't lie about this kind of thing. It seemed that the matter of chasing that hateful woman could only be put aside and escape first. Although the 7 of them hated Fengwu to the bone, they valued their own lives and this assessment more. Now was the critical period of the assessment. They couldn't lose their qualification because of a group of magical beasts. While the 7 of them were busy running for their lives, Fengwu was following a small ice bird farther away. Fengwu's natural affinity and ability to communicate with magical beasts and plants made these magical beasts not hurt her. So for others, it was not dangerous for Fengwu to enter the territory of the ice birds. Little Nat, thank you for leading the way for me. Goodbye. Fengwu waved goodbye to the cute little ice bird after leaving the territory of the ice birds. The little ice bird called Nat reluctantly flew 2 circles around Fengwu, then said in a childish voice, "There are humans in front of us who broke into our territory. Father and the others have already gone to drive them away. I also have to go back. Xiao Wu, the scent on your body makes me feel so comfortable. I really don't want to part with you." The little ice bird intimately rubbed its head against Fengwu's neck and flew away reluctantly. The little ice bird was sent by its father to lead the way for her. When Fengwu first entered the territory of the ice birds, the other birds also rushed out to attack her. But when they got close to her, they found that Fengwu had a very pleasant scent on her body. This scent made them feel very comfortable, as if they were full of vitality by her side. Because Fengwu had an affinity with animals and plants, not only did the ice birds not hurt Fengwu, a mature male bird even sent his son who had just learned how to fly to send Fengwu away from their territory. It could be said that no human had ever received such friendly treatment, but because of her own uniqueness, Fengwu enjoyed it for once. After bidding farewell to the little ice bird, Fengwu continued to use her qinggong to fly through the forest. The reason why Alando and the others couldn't catch up to Fengwu wasn't because Fengwu was too fast, but because Fengwu had been using her qinggong to shuttle through the forest since she entered. Alando and the others, who were only relying on their 2 legs, naturally couldn't catch up to Fengwu. After using her qinggong to fly for a while, Fengwu successfully arrived at the location marked on the map. The location marked on the map was a cliff. The bottom of the cliff was covered in fog, and it was impossible to see how high the cliff was. Chapter 38. The ground on the cliff looked uneven, and there were even traces of a battle. The sunken part of the ground seemed to have been corroded by some kind of strong acid. Fengwu stood on the uneven ground and frowned as she looked at the ground. She then took out a map and looked at it for a while. At this time, Fengwu didn't know that an unexpected change was taking place outside the virtual world. Central City was a beautiful and prosperous city. The sky here was clear and sunny every day. It rarely rained, and cloudy days were also very rare. However, the sky today was densely covered in clouds. The thick clouds formed a vortex that constantly rotated slowly in the sky. There were flashes of lightning in the clouds, and it looked like the end of the world had arrived. It made people feel terrified and hopeless. What's going on? Is the demon race going to appear again? Some people stood on the streets uneasily, looking at the dark clouds that suddenly appeared in the sky and the vortex formed by a large patch of dark clouds. They talked with the passers-by uneasily. It can't be. With the restriction of the 3 realms, it's impossible for demons to come to the human world unless they get a pass from the Lord of the Demon Realm. Someone on the side voiced out his doubts. I've heard that spatial rifts have appeared in many places, and many low-grade devilish beings are trying to sneak into this place. I think that strange energy vortex in the sky is a sign that devilish beings are trying to sneak into this place, someone said in a confident manner. You're thinking too much. Even if there are demons sneaking in through the spatial cracks, which demon would be so stupid as to choose Central City as the place to descend? Isn't that suicide? This person clearly didn't agree with the previous person's words and retorted reasonably. Hearing this person's words, many people nodded. Wasn't that right? This was the central city that gathered the most experts in the entire continent. Unless the Demon King personally descended, even the nobles of the demon realm wouldn't dare to rashly descend here. Thinking of this, everyone was even more curious about the thing in the sky. Just what was it that was coming? Such a large energy reaction was definitely not ordinary. Not only were the passers-by curious and nervous, but the major forces in the central city had also taken precautions against the sudden energy reaction in the sky. Unlike the tense atmosphere in other places, in the Star Hall or the Sacred Palace, 2 young men were watching the changes in the sky in a room in the Star Hall. The 2 men appeared to be around 20 years old. One had blonde hair and golden eyes, while the other had black hair and black eyes. Their faces were as beautiful and gentle as angels. There was no energy fluctuation coming from them. They looked like ordinary people. What a powerful energy reaction. Something is about to cross over. The golden-haired man gazed gently at the sky. His gaze was as gentle as jade, with an indescribable tenderness. What is it that could cause such a huge energy reaction? The black-haired man smiled. There seemed to be hundreds of flowers blooming behind him. The man seemed to be very interested in the thing that was about to break through the void. There's the aura of a divine artifact. Could it be that another divine seal is about to descend into the lower realms? But I've never heard of any god from the upper realm sending down a divine seal. The golden-haired man seemed to have a trace of doubt on his face. Since the disaster 10,000 years ago, the high gods of the upper realm sent down 8 divine seals in the mortal realm to protect the peace of the mortal realm. The 8 divine seals were the seal of spring, seal of summer, seal of autumn, and seal of winter, which represented the 4 seasons. There were also the seals of heaven, earth, sun, and moon, which represented the 4 seasons. The 4 divine seals sealed the power of the gods of the 4 seasons, as well as the power of heaven, earth, sun, and moon. Once the seal was broken, the power would increase, and it could also summon artifacts from the divine realm. Each artifact had the power to destroy the world. The 8 divine seals were requested by the Master of the Star Hall from the gods of the heaven realm 10,000 years ago. The 8 master gods of the upper realm were grateful for the Master of the Star Hall's painstaking efforts to protect the mortal realm, so they specially bestowed the 8 divine seals to the mortal realm to protect the peace of the mortal realm. The masters of the 8 divine seals were chosen by the divine seals themselves. The divine seals would choose the person whose aura was the most compatible with their own as the host. Once the host died, the divine seals would leave the body and choose the next host. Because of the power of the divine seals, there were only 8 divine seals in the entire mortal realm. As the gods of the heavens, it was impossible for the gods to send down their divine seals for no reason. Therefore, the 2 of them were surprised by the sudden appearance of the aura. The aura is getting stronger and stronger. Do we need to stop this artifact? The black-haired man hesitantly opened his thin lips. There seemed to be a stream of light flashing in his eyes. However, it was only for a moment, and the stream of light was fleeting. The golden-haired man pondered for a moment and shook his head gently. I don't think there's a need. The divine seals have spirituality. If a divine artifact really comes from the upper realm, let it choose the most suitable master. That's true. The black-haired man nodded slightly. The 2 of them silently drank fragrant tea while watching the changes in the sky. About 10 minutes later, the clouds in the sky became thicker and thicker. Suddenly, a thick bolt of lightning flashed through the clouds. A silver light flew out of the lightning. This light directly cut through the huge whirlpool in the sky and appeared in mid-air. After the light appeared, it seemed to be curious about where this place was. Then, it looked around the land spiritually. Finally, it seemed to be certain of something. It chose a direction and flew away in an instant. That aura, it must be a divine artifact. It must be a divine artifact. Someone shouted excitedly. That's right. I saw it too. With such spirituality, it must be a divine artifact, the person next to him said excitedly. I just don't know if it's a staff or a sword. I'm a swordsman. If it's a divine sword, and if I can find it and make the divine sword recognize me as its master, I will definitely become a peerless master in the future, a young swordsman muttered to himself as he looked in the direction where the divine artifact disappeared. The young swordsman's words seemed to have turned on a switch. These passers-by who had gathered to gossip suddenly chased in the direction where the divine artifact disappeared. Wasn't that right? As long as they found the divine artifact and thought of a way to make the divine artifact recognize them as its master, they would not have to worry about not being able to reach the sanctuary realm in the future. They might even have the chance to become a god. With this thought, who could remain calm? The entire central city was in an uproar as a craze for finding the divine artifact started. At this moment, the 3 teachers guarding the entrance to the virtual world were unaware of the changes in the outside world. They were still watching the candidates in the virtual world in front of the water mirror. The quality of this batch of candidates was not the highest, but it was not bad either. There were some good seedlings in this batch. If they were nurtured well, they would definitely be a force to be reckoned with in the future. Chapter 39. The three teachers were currently looking at Orlando and the others, who were being chased by a flock of icebergs because they were following Fengwu. They shook their heads as they watched. The mental fortitude of these examinees is lacking. Now is the critical period of the examination, yet they still have the time to think about personal grudges. I think it will be very difficult for these students to pass the examination. James expressionlessly announced the fate of Orlando and the others. The other two teachers didn't raise any objections. These students' mental fortitude was indeed lacking, and their future achievements wouldn't be too great. That girl in white is more interesting. She can actually talk to magic beasts. This should be her innate ability. However, with such an ability, why didn't she take the Beast Master examination? Why did she go to your Sword Master department instead? The female teacher from the magic department muttered to herself in confusion. Hey, Rosalina, our Swordmaster department isn't bad either. We aren't inferior to those arrogant beast masters. The teacher from the Swordmaster department who had been smiling all this time chuckled in protest. Elrog, I'm not saying that your Swordmaster department isn't good. I just think that girl's talent is more suitable for the Beastmaster class. Rosalina cast a sidelong glance at Elrog and spoke coquettishly. Just as Elrog was about to say something, a silver light with unparalleled power unexpectedly rushed into the water mirror like a meteor. The three of them wanted to stop it, but before they could do anything, they were sent flying by the powerful force. The three people who were sent flying took a few breaths to stabilize their bodies, but that mysterious silver light had already disappeared. What do we do? Rosalina anxiously looked at the water mirror that had already become a blur. Now that the entire water mirror was being disturbed by the external energy, it became very unstable. All the students taking the examination in the mirror world were now completely unable to grasp the situation of those students. If something happened at this time, even if they died in the mirror world, they would just wake up from a dream and would not be harmed in any way. However, an unknown variable had appeared. No one knew if this energy would affect the mental strength of the examinees in the mirror. Let's first ask the dean if we should stop the examination. James's face was ashen as he spoke in a deep voice. There's no need to stop it. After a while, the water mirror will return to normal and the test will continue. A voice filled with love suddenly appeared in the minds of the three of them. This voice was very pleasant and gentle, but when they heard this voice, their originally nervous and worried feelings suddenly left the three of them. The three people's expressions changed as they bowed towards a direction in the sky that couldn't be seen. Dean. The Dean of the Notre Dame du Starlight was a legendary figure who had lived for countless years. Although no one had seen the Dean fight, everyone knew that the Dean was a peerless expert who could stand shoulder to shoulder with the Lord of the Star Hall. It was even said that the Dean was a god who had been left behind in the human world. Regardless of whether those rumors were true or false, in the eyes of the teachers and students of the Notre Dame du Starlight, their headmaster was mysterious, powerful, and very kind. He was a powerhouse worthy of respect. But Dean, the thing that rushed into the water mirror just now. Rosalina bit her lip as she wanted to say something. Don't worry. The thing that rushed into the water mirror just now was a divine sword that crossed over from another world. That divine sword seems to have taken a fancy to one of the examinees this year as its host. The loving voice appeared again with the power to calm people's hearts as if it could purify all the evil in the world. Rosalina and the other two finally heaved a sigh of relief. As long as the students inside weren't harmed, it would be easy to handle. The three of them bowed towards the sky again. They knew that the dean's mental strength had already left. Looks like this year's examinees are very lucky. Elrog smiled like a blooming lily. It looked like the days ahead would be very interesting. He was now looking forward more and more to the new students entering the school. The world outside seemed to have calmed down, but the world in the mirror welcomed the last place. The moment that the unknown divine weapon passed through the water mirror space, the entire virtual world shook violently. God! What's going on? Is there an earthquake? Some examinees were frightened by the sudden tremor and looked around uneasily. There were many people who felt the same way as the examinees. Even the natives in the virtual world were scared. The entire neutral city was in a state of panic. Outside the neutral city, the small tribes and the examinees who were looking for their own opportunities were also very uneasy. The natives of the small tribes knelt on the ground and looked up at the sky. They were all mumbling something as if they were praying. The examinees who were walking outside silently held onto their weapons. They didn't know if the earthquake this time was also a part of the assessment. They could only be secretly on guard and deal with it carefully. Look, what's that in the sky? A white light streaked across the sky and quickly fell in a certain direction, or so it seemed to others. Could that be the opportunity we're looking for in this assessment? Someone guessed. Let's go and take a look. That must be something incredible. Who knows, we might even get extra points if we get it. Someone couldn't wait to call out to his companions. No matter what it is, I must find it before anyone else. This was an examinee who was looking for opportunities alone. What is that? Could it be the thing we're looking for? Regardless of how everyone guessed, after the white light found its target, it quickly streaked across the sky and disappeared into a mountain. At this moment, what was Fengwu doing? The earthquake just now had made the nearby magical beasts very uneasy. At this moment, a magical beast rotting flesh worm that lived in this area all year round wobbled and crawled to a spot not far from Fengwu. This rotting flesh worm lived in this area all year round. The marks on the ground were melted by the strong acid from the insect-type magical beast's body. Fengwu blinked her large eyes and stared unblinkingly at this extremely ugly worm. This rotting flesh worm belonged to the dark element. This type of magical beast usually lived underground and would only crawl to the surface at night. This rotting flesh worm might have been startled out by the earthquake just now. Fengwu looked at this unappetizing worm. A small sword had already been obtained from Fengwu's space ring. It must be said that although our Fengwu girl liked magical beasts, that didn't include those ugly magical beasts. Magical beasts usually had low intelligence and only had the instinct to eat. They wouldn't get close to others for any reason. Of course, they wouldn't be affected by Fengwu's aura. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.